Don't make me laugh. Merry meet weirdos. I'm Gory B Deadite, and with me today is the ever amazing what's the word I'm looking for? He knows about movies. There's a word for that. Anyway,
I'm a horror addict.
The horror addict, Danny Nightmare. If you have not visited us over on Horror Addicts, you are missing out. Danny, tell them a little about that.
We do unboxings, reviews, and all things horror, basically. Been doing live reviews like every Monday lately, and hopefully got some other stuff coming out soon.
And if you can't recognize the outfit, I am Mia from the movie that we're going to be talking about tonight, Evil Dead, the 2013 remake. Even got the necklace.
A little more old school than the necklace. A little more. Somewhere in between.
Everyone's a critic. And I have got some amazing guests for you. Two guys I am big fans of. I'm going to introduce my friend Zach from Zombie TOON. So Zachary does a lot of art and commissions. You want to talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I do art and commissions. I think you nailed it.
Sorry.
No problem. I'm also currently working on a podcast, but as far as the art goes, it's very cartoony. I like to do character fusions, gender bends, all kinds of fan art, sometimes an original or two. So come check that out. The link should be down below.
There, yeah. All the descriptions for both my guests and this guy are down in the description. My links. I got so many links down there. You're like, if you're bored, there's links. There are links. And an old friend of mine, Adam Daly. Welcome back to the channel. Tell him where you're from.
Yes, I'm old. No.
No, old friend of mine. He's actually very young.
No, there we go. No, hey guys, I'm one of the 4 hosts of Almost Sideways. It's a group of 4 friends, and we like talking about all things movies, not just horror specifically. Specifically, my stuff that I've been doing for our podcast / YouTube channel is kind of going back and revisiting films that are celebrating anniversaries. So this 2013 Evil Dead film is right there, spot on for that 10th anniversary. So perfect to have me on here. So excited. And Gory was actually on my channel. We talked about Leprechaun this year too. So definitely,
I love Leprechaun. You know me in those B movies. And I picked these guys because they are big fans of this movie. I really love this. I hope you guys do in the chat. But if you don't, that's the whole reason for this show. We're either going to have a love fest and just share how much we love it with each other, or maybe you don't like it. And maybe we can at least help you to understand why other people do like it and maybe convince you to give it another look.
And cheers to Adam for doing a great job in the Oscars.
Yes.
Last minute, I really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
And Best Death.
Yeah,
no, my buddy here is pretty good with the animation if you ever need help with that one.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now let's check in with the Gory Hole. That's all you weirdos who are hanging out there in the chat. Hopefully, you brought a poncho because you do get wet in the Gory Hole. I'm just saying. It's just what happens, I've heard. Anyway, we got a very good friend of mine, my Chunky Jordy, very loyal supporter of the show. They're all the way over in the UK. So thank you for checking in with the stream. And if you don't get to catch it all now, dude, that's what the replay's for. Horror Tori's here. I loved Evil Dead Rise as well. Hopefully you'll join us next week when we talk about that one.
I might not be here. I might have to get someone else.
I have a feeling your better half, and it's not me, will be here.
Bugging for it.
Yes. Sarah Campbell, what's up, girl? We just hung out last night in Craven's 9K celebration. I had a lot of fun with that. She made a really cool game. Yeah, my hair did get long. That's my little brother, stating the obvious. And thank you, May Ann. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Jason from the B Movie Coven, which is our membership here on the channel. If you want to hang out with me and watch movies or just get some extra content and such, you can join here on YouTube, link in the description below, or on Patreon. Oh, we got Lady Vessa here too. What's up? We got some cool people in the gory hole today, including Echo Sarah. So without further Deadites, we're gonna have actually a lot of Deadites. I am ready to jump into this thing. I am ready. I got clips. Okay, I'm gonna preface my clips here. Got some good clips at the beginning, got a few clips at the end. This movie is not YouTube friendly.
No.
So I got some stuff, but not everything.
A lot of censored. Let's go.
Yes. So there's whole characters I don't have in here, and that's why. Nice to see Torchbearer here. What's up? So this movie, a little preface on this. So there had been talk of an Army of Darkness 2 and then an Evil Dead remake. At one point, they were even going to redo the Ash character. Someone in the talks for that was Marlon Wayans. And Bruce Campbell, of the three producers, Sam Raimi was like, let's freshen it up for a new audience. Rob Tapert was like, yeah, let's do a remake. And Bruce was like, I don't want anyone else to play Ash. You know, it's personal to me. I don't want someone doing an impression of me. It's just weird.
Personal to me too, and I'm just a fan.
Yeah. So they kind of shelved that until this idea came along of doing it with kind of a whole new generation. A few directors were in the works, but ultimately Fede Alvarez did this 5-minute, really cool CGI fest YouTube video, and that got a lot of attention and led him to Sam Raimi and led him to directing this movie.
Yeah, robots just attacking the city, and they were gonna even think about making a movie of that, but that kind of got stuck in production hell. That never came up anything really, but it led to this.
And one of the cool things we talked about this franchise is I truly think this is the strongest horror franchise. Yeah, I think for slasher franchises, I'm probably going to give that to either Chucky or Scream. But for horror overall, this is every movie in this franchise, including Evil Dead Rise, is an A movie, if you ask me. And I think when you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it really shows that this movie is certified fresh, but it's 63%. It's actually the lowest rated of all the Evil Dead movies.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting.
I realized that.
So I'd like to talk to you guys, because this movie's not that old. It only came out in 2013. Where did you first see it, and what was your first reaction?
All right. I'll kick this one off. This is pretty easy for me because I've been thinking about it. So this is actually my very first Evil Dead movie that I actually saw. We went to, I don't know why that is. The last other than Evil Dead Rise, the last one I saw before Rise was Evil Dead 2. I don't know why I watched them all out of order. It's very weird. I'm not a good fan, I guess. But Evil Dead 2013.
You're a great fan.
Yeah, but Evil Dead 2013 was a lot of fun because my roommates at the time, a shout out to my good buddies Daryl and Cody. We all decided, hey, let's go out to the theater, go watch this movie. The trailers looked fantastic. And the best part of it was those two guys kept squirming in their seats like a bunch of babies because all the grotesque stuff. And I'm sitting there like, wimps. This movie's got nothing on me until a little machete went through a person's knee at the end of it, and I was like, oh god, okay, I understand why people are squirming. It was such a fun time, and it made me go back and watch the original Evil Dead movies and found appreciation for that too. But that first experience in the theater, I can't beat it. It was just great, and I love Fede Alvarez's films since then. Like Don't Breathe is one of my favorite movies from 2016, I believe that came out, and then also The Girl with the Spiders, The Girl in the Spider's Webs was a fun like dragon tattoo one. But he's a very talented director, so going back and revisiting it, it was just a really fun to kind of experience it all over again because I hadn't seen it for like a year or two. So it was nice to go back and into this different version of Evil Dead.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to comment on what you said really quick. Fede Alvarez, if you're not following him on Twitter, I highly recommend it. He celebrates the anniversary of all of his films, and with Evil Dead, the way he celebrates is he gives you a little behind the scenes stuff. So like this last year, he showed a bunch of Polaroids that were just his. And also he showed us the original ending, which is identical to the original Evil Dead. Go check it out on Twitter.
Oh.
Of the evil coming through the house and then hitting Mia head on. So really cool. Obviously he's very proud of this film, and currently he's working on an Alien remake that I'm excited for.
Really?
I'm gonna check in with the chat really quick, and then I'd love to hear how you discovered this film, Zach.
Yeah.
So it looks like we've got Kevin from Haunted by Horror here, and my life giver, Mummy B Movie is here. We got George Berry said, the first Evil Dead I saw in the theaters. Me too. I mean, I was alive for the other ones, but Evil Dead 1 didn't even come out of theaters till I was a baby. So this was the first one I saw in the cinema. Zigma says, I've not seen it yet. Does it have the hand giving the middle finger? Now, interestingly enough, it does. That is one of the Easter eggs I was going to mention later. Pay attention when Eric is looking at the book. On one of the pages, you're going to see kind of a tribute to the original poster of the abomination reaching its hand up. On that same page, there's a hand giving the bird.
It doesn't really look like Ash's hand. It looks like a deadite hand with like long fingernails, but it's the hand giving, like a severed hand giving the bird.
And our very good friend Rich, the movie massacre, is here. All right, good people here in the Gory Hole. So Zach, where did you first see this movie? What were your thoughts?
Well, I saw it in theaters when it came out. I actually wasn't too familiar with Evil Dead. I'd only seen Army of Darkness, like most people my age. It was just like the movie everybody in high school told me to see, so I sat down and watched it. Evil Dead was a bit before my time, and they haven't made a new movie in years. So that was my only frame of reference, so I was kind of blindsided by this film in theaters. I thought it was a goofy comedy series, and I mean, I'll talk about this later, but I think that's a good choice he made in the remake, is going away from horror comedy and making his own thing. I think if he tried to copy that, it might not have been as good. But yeah, I saw it in theaters with my friend Andy Quintero, who I don't talk to anymore, but yeah, 10 years ago when it came out.
The poster really wanted to let people know right away, like, don't expect comedy in this. You know, it said the scariest movie you will ever see. None of the trailers showed any comedy. So, you know, a few people were put off, but then to that, I just say, watch the original Evil Dead. It has a few like parts that I think are kind of funny, but overall the tone of that one's pretty dark. I mean, Ash doesn't have a single one-liner in the film. And I think for a remake of The Evil Dead, this did a perfect job. This isn't a remake of Evil Dead 2. It's not a remake of Army of Darkness. You know, it's that original movie. And we've talked a lot on the previous streams, this journey Ash goes on, where at first he's a sweet guy, you know, brings his girlfriend to a cabin, wants to hang out with his sister and his best friends, and how he has just been beaten down. And he's honestly kind of insane by the last time we saw him in Army of Darkness. That's why he's so different. And we've talked about how he's kind of carrying these parts of people he loves with him. And a lot of that asshole persona is from Scotty. He loves Scotty. He's a lovable asshole.
That, and he's like built up a turtle shell, you know? Remember Feelings?
Yeah,
I used to have those,
exactly.
but now he's like keeping everyone at a safe distance because he knows that if they get close to him, they're probably going to die, and he's going to have to chop them up and bury them, and I just want to get close to people.
And we'll talk about the characters in a little bit, but that aspect, that sweet person who can't handle anything, who has no turtle shell, I think we see in David, who couldn't even handle seeing his mom sick. So he just wasn't there.
Ash was there at one point.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a bit more, but Danny, talk about how we saw this together, so you can speak to us.
And Adam, I saw him out of order too. I mean, Army of Darkness was my first one I ever saw. Saw it in the theater when I was little. I snuck into it because my dad was the manager, and he told me not to see that one, but I was like, yeah, and I went into it anyways. And I loved it. Then I finally saw Evil Dead, and then I saw Evil Dead 2 shortly after that, and it finally clicked because I loved Army of Darkness as a little kid. I even had the cardboard cutout that we got to keep from the theater for a little while before my dad actually threw it away. But it finally clicked. I'm like, holy crap, this is a trilogy? I didn't even know. So this is actually the first movie that I've seen in order, like in a sense, where I finally got into order because I saw this after seeing the other ones. We went and saw it. We both had some qualms that we were like a little nervous about.
I think we went in with reservations. And again, I know you guys are going to comment on this too. Just part of the genius of this movie and also the marketing. This movie actually won an award for its TV short. If you're a fan of this franchise, and we're a fan of Ash, when I knew he wasn't going to be in the movie, which turned out to not be true. But I watched the trailers and I see Shiloh Fernandez in the blue shirt with a chainsaw. I'm like, I thought they were just going to basically rename the character of Ash and have him. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I saw Bruce Campbell at a book signing, and he talked about how, like, the movie was eventually going to get made regardless. So it was time to kind of get on board with it. But he wanted to have more control with it. And this is the first, finally, they kind of came to the three amigos, all three are producers, finally agreed on how they would go about this. They would go about it with not having an Ash character. Because it was personal to him, but it was also personal to me and a lot of other fans who said, no, we do not want anybody else playing Bruce, like Campbell's.
He's the king. If you guys haven't watched the other streams, we've talked about this a lot. Maybe he's not the big A-list star that like Leonardo DiCaprio's, but for us horror fans, for genre fans, he's the king. He is like the top of the mountain.
I don't want anybody else playing Ellen Ripley. That's just how it is. Sigourney Weaver has made that an iconic role for her. I don't ever want to like to specifically play the version of the Terminator robot that Arnold Schwarzenegger made, like thing. That's just how it is. I remember it that person. I don't want anyone else to kind of like steal that spotlight and be that specific character. I don't care if you make a remake, just don't have that specific character. So I was very happy to hear that he wasn't, but yeah, when I was looking at those trailers, David looked a lot like Ash. I'm like, all right, well,
but then we saw it.
I saw it, and then like they totally like go in a completely different direction about towards the third act of the movie. And I'm like, okay.
Honestly, you know that those camera movies that we all love, where the Deadites are going through the forest. I feel like it did that to me. The movie did that to me, and then it punched me in the face repeatedly, and I was left with a giant smile on my face. I'm like, yes, let's do it again. I loved this so much. It clearly showed that they knew that original film. They loved and respected it, but it was its own thing. And I did what, like, I've talked about the genius of Scream is that it knew horror fans. It knew we were going to suspect Billy. And so it found a way to subvert that. This movie knew Evil Dead fans, and it knew what we would be nervous about. And it found a way to make it its own thing and make it fun for us. And honestly, truly the scariest movie in the franchise.
Yeah, it's like probably in my top 3 best like horror remakes of all time. Maybe definitely the top 5, but possibly top 3, just because that's a fine line to walk where you got to be similar enough to where everybody who loves the original stuff will like it, but you got to be still different enough where you're not just straight up copying that.
Yeah,
did it.
Yeah. There's a fine line when you do your sequels, because it's like, especially on a franchise people like really love. It's like you have to find that fine balance of paying homage, taking similar aspects and putting it in your film, but also not offending those original fans too. It's like there's a fine balance there, and I find like they were able to do it here and kind of change the genre in a little bit. And it's like take away the comedy aspect and just stick on the horror aspect of it and make it kind of and at the time too, I guess the body horror stuff with all like the Saw franchise, Hostel, and although it's a little different, obviously going out with definitely the extreme kind of gory aspects of what a franchise could do, it makes it entirely different, which makes it kind of a unique entry in the installment. But which that's why people went to see it, because they wanted to see how extreme they would want to go, especially with that marketing, that campaign that they did. So
I was also looking at those trailers, and it's one of those trailers where like, are they showing me too much? Oh no, they didn't.
No.
I was so surprised.
Just a taste.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I think the reason it's such a good remake is it almost doesn't feel like a remake. It feels like a bit of an Elseworld story, or like something that could be taking place in 2013 that doesn't involve Ash. Like the Deadites can do stuff that doesn't involve Ash. This could just be a separate incident. Like I could definitely, and I know this was actually the plan, I believe, but I could see Mia and Ash running into each other. I could see them both existing in this world. So it is called the Evil Dead remake, but it almost doesn't feel like it.
I agree.
With Wise existing, I mean,
there was talk of a movie with Ash and Mia in it that got scrapped for Ash versus Evil Dead. But she just did a picture on Alyssa Sutherland's Instagram with her and the woman who plays Beth. So now I'm like, maybe.
My blood sisters.
Maybe it could happen.
She might be back into the idea now. But even before this movie came out, the video games and comics have already straight up said that there are multiverses. Like in
nice.
Army of Darkness versus the Marvel Zombies, there's an Ash in that world that never became a hero because there were superheroes of Marvel superheroes. So he never got to that chance. But once they started all being infected by zombies, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna strap up, and he did his like all chainsaw and boomstick. He grabbed him from the place he worked, the S-Mart place. And he set out to go fight these Marvel zombies, and he was immediately killed by Howard the Duck zombie. But then the real Ash, the Ash that we all like follow the story through, he saves the day in his own. Well, he saves his own skin. He doesn't save the day. He saves his own skin.
Very nice to see my friend Katie in the chat today. Nice to see you. Also, Zigma, thank you for your question. Bring your questions on, guys, because at the end of the stream, we are going to do a Q&A where we answer all of your questions. So I will star them, and we will answer every single one at the end of the stream. So please bring those questions on. So we'll talk a little bit about the screenplay and the story. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit, about how just inventive it was. Really interestingly, this was written by Fede Alvarez, who English isn't even his first language, and he wrote an incredible screenplay with Rodo. I feel terrible because I don't know how to pronounce his name. I should have looked it up. I'm going to call him Rodo, but he co-wrote it with a friend of his, and I think they did a great job. However, because English isn't their first language, an uncredited ghostwriter is Diablo Cody, who went through, and she did all the dialogue, so all the witty dialogue stuff. That's Diablo Cody, who you would know from Juno and Jennifer's Body.
Which is funny. Betty, like, very intelligent, very creative.
I did not know that, but it makes me appreciate that so much more now. That's
Jennifer's Body is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, the dialogue in Jennifer's Body is so good.
But think about a lot of those, any line in there that made you laugh, it was probably her line, because she would know how people talk in like slang here, which slang is one of the hardest things for somebody who is learning English. I think Fede is wonderful at English. You're an incredible screenplay. But I think, definitely you can see her influence in that script.
Well, it's like I said, he's very creative. He's very intelligent. But when you hear him talk, it sounds like he's being like kind of like a dude bro. But it's just because that's not his first language. He has got to think it in his head as he says it. And it's just funny. But he's so much more like than you would expect if you like actually get to know the guy or like look into his work.
I just want to say really quick, really high. Hi. To Jason Rushman. Yeah, surprisingly, English is my first language. And we've got Alex, who just wants to say hi before heading to work. Evil Dead, the remake, is number 2 for them. The 2 and 3 for me, we'll talk about my ranking later, are pretty much tied, but nice to see you here. So produced by Rob Tapper, who's produced all of them, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. And again, I think that's why this franchise is so good. Some franchises like Halloween, like they're started by I'm drawing a total blank. Who directed Halloween? Help me out here.
John Carpenter.
Oh, it's Craven. What the fuck?
I don't know.
John Carpenter.
John Carpenter.
My brain literally blanked.
It broke my brain.
Was that parallel universe where Wes Craven did it?
How do I super chat Danny for a great like breaking her brain? That's awesome. That was great.
I was too busy like concerned about what you like looking in her eyes. Like
what I was trying to say is John Carpenter, he created this amazing movie Halloween. He did Halloween 2. And then he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to parent Michael Myers anymore. He takes Michael Myers to the fire station. And you know what? Michael Myers bounced around from some foster homes, some better than others. I still love them all, but we know that Michael Myers has had a rough go of it since Dad dropped him off at the fire station. Whereas Evil Dead, lovingly raised by Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Rob Tapper, even when they're not, Sam Raimi's not directing it, Bruce Campbell's not in it, you definitely see their influence in the films. They make sure that it lives up to the standards of an Evil Dead movie.
They let people babysit, but they like write down all the rules and their phone number on the fridge, So it's like, hey.
If you have any issues, you contact these people right now.
Exactly.
The only
and
other
also, Michael Myers, he's cute, he's quiet, he's got his little mask. It's more adoptable where, you get a little baby and it's like, I'll swallow you, swell. And you're like, oh, whoa.
Oh, shit.
Back to your parents.
I was going to say the only example I could think of that is Chucky.
Exactly.
That's a great documentary.
Holding that baby.
Yeah. Living with Chuck.
Speaking of Wes Craven, it was that way until he passed. But
yeah. Probably would still be that way if he were still here.
Yeah. If he's still here.
I think, look at our strongest franchises. I would say Chucky, Scream, Evil Dead. And with all of those, it had these parental figures, these creators who were like, no, I'm going to, even if I'm not making the movie, I'm going to produce it. I'm going to make sure that it's in good hands. I care about it. And I think that makes a huge difference, huge difference. Sometimes it can be fun. I love Friday the 13th, and I love that each one's a completely different experience. Sometimes it really works in a completely different way, but for a consistent franchise, I think you need that consistent involvement.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yep.
So we talked a little bit about how this movie was so clever and how it tributed the original and subverted our expectations.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
One of the things for me is I think, Evil Dead, I watched these all in order. My mom introduced them to me when I was about 12 or 13. And so I had no expectations going into Evil Dead. I didn't know the horror tropes, but watching it as an adult, I'm like, Cheryl's got final girl energy. She knows what's going on before anybody else. I'm like, for audiences at the time, like I bet a lot of them thought Cheryl would be the final girl. They'd seen Black Christmas, they'd seen Texas Chainsaw. And so that movie subverted expectations by giving us a male protagonist. Also not even the male you would think would be, because Ash is kind of wimpy in that movie. Like,
Ash is a character that would have been killed off first or second in any other horror film.
Exactly. And so I think that's how and so this movie subverts our subversions by doing what we originally thought. Mia is very much kind of that Cheryl character. She is the brother, or she is the younger sister. She's the first person who knows that they're in trouble. She says she wants to be taken home. And of course, they have their own version of how she is possessed by the Deadites in the woods. So she's definitely an homage to Cheryl. And so when you watch this, you're like, oh, well, she's gone now because I've seen the original. And she ends up being the hero.
At least the last one standing. I mean, I'd say David's just as much a hero in the movie, but she's still.
She ends up being the final girl. That's what I would say. I think
survivor.
David is a really good character who I feel like he sacrifices himself for her.
Yeah,
and so it's like it makes you wonder with Ash, because we know that people rarely have come back from being a Deadeye. Ash has certainly done it. It's kind of almost like an alternate universe, like an alternate ending to what could have happened to Evil Dead. What if Ash said, no, I'm not going to, let my sister blow up when I burn the book. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And they have a different circumstance here. And I will say, unpopular opinion, I think David and Mia are the two most well-developed characters in this entire franchise. I love Ash. I love him. He is an icon. But these characters have such an interesting arc. We have Mia, who is the younger sister, and she's got a big heart that she wears on her sleeve, and she takes care of their mother, who's mentally ill, and as a child does this, and it breaks her, and she resorts to drugs. Her brother was not there. She is alone. And I like that the movie doesn't demonize her. She still gets to be a hero, even though she had this, addiction. And then David, he couldn't handle it. And so he just didn't go home, and there are people like that too, where they just can't face it. He can't face seeing his mom that way. And he feels so guilty that his baby sister had to basically carry his burden. And so now she says, promise me, no matter what, you will not leave me. And he can't do it. He cannot leave her. And so even after he's cut up his girlfriend and all this stuff, like, I think it's a really cool arc that he's like, you know what? No, I'm not giving up on you.
No, it's awesome. And I would agree with you. I would say Ash may be more development throughout the entire franchise, but for one single movie, yes, I would agree that they are definitely the most developed in that.
Over the first three movies, I think Ash is a much more interesting and complicated character, but for a single movie, what was accomplished in here was pretty impressive for an Evil Dead film.
And siblings has always been a strong point of the franchise, but this is the one.
Explain that a bit.
Because the first movie had Cheryl and Ash was a good brother. He did try to take her home, but then, the bridge was out. Similar to this, but... And
you get the impression that, like these two, they were best friends.
Yeah, and he didn't know that throwing, the book catching on fire, killing the Deadites was like a blessing in disguise, but he didn't know that. It's not like he tried to kill her and didn't have the option of saving her. This book also has more rules that, like, you can kill them in different ways, and it'll summon something else. So there's a difference between the movies. But yeah, Cheryl is kind of gone, and then Ash moves on. And then later on, like even in the third movie, Army of Darkness, Sheila hates Ash right away because she thinks he's to be blamed for her brother dying. Part there too, as well.
That's another sibling relationship, and of course, in Evil Dead Rise, it's about two sisters. So this idea of siblings, which I think is really interesting, I I love a romantic couple, but I think we see that a lot, and it's an easy out for a lot of screenwriters. And it's not always done really well. Sometimes it's just kind of thrown in there. But I like that these movies really kind of showcase the sibling relationship. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's special.
And even Evil Dead 2, Jake and Bobby Joe had a very sibling relationship. Is that not siblings? I don't know.
You're canceled. I want to hear from Adam instead. Adam and Zach, take it. He's canceled.
Well, what I think was really interesting too is that they set this movie up as disguised as like, we're going to go do get you clean off of your addiction and try to get you sober and trying to help you out, and we're not going to give up this time. That was the whole group was like, we're not going to give up this time. And they even told the brothers, like, no, you can't leave her. We're going to stay here. And they all agree on this, even when they want to. And then, so they don't believe anything that she's really saying right away. Like, I got attacked by this lady in the woods, or I got something happened to me. It's like, no, we'll have to figure it out or whatever. And everything is disguised as like she's going through her breaking point of her addiction. And I think that is kind of a brilliant part of the screenplay there too, because they're already don't believe. They already know she's going to come to a breaking point because she's going to be clean. Because that's the first scene. She breaks their drugs up and throws them down, I guess a well or whatever. I can't remember. But she breaks the drugs up there. And then immediately the next thing you see is she's freaking out because she's coming off. She needs that fix and she doesn't have it. And then so they just think everything is like, oh, she just needs her fix and we're not going to give it to her. So no one originally believes it, and there's speculation from the one idiot who read that book for whatever reason. But anyway, but I love that. Yeah, the nerdy. You see a nerdy librarian? I kind of like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Fun thing about his look, that's we'll talk more about the characters in a bit. That's Lou Taylor Pucci, and he wanted to have kind of an 80s nerd look, and so he grew his hair out. He wore the glasses, which he doesn't wear glasses. He doesn't have long hair. And the rest of the cast met him in an interview. I saw the interview. It's so funny. They're like, "You're cute."
Yeah, he
they almost didn't recognize him. Like, he looks. It's so funny. He's such a chameleon actor. If you watch him in You, he's playing like the cool influencer hot guy. Like, he is such a chameleon. He's so great.
That's good.
And his own character, though, he clearly is an homage in a sense to Scotty, where he's kind of this asshole, but he's also brave. He also will step up when he needs to and help his friends. But he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, and a lot of people have complained about the Eric character, but I think
like him.
I like him because I get where he's coming from. When you are there, he's basically there was a period of time when he was more of a brother to Mia than David was. He saw her as a young girl struggling to care for her mentally ill mother. He saw her grieving her mother, and he was probably the person who held her and was like, "Hey, we're here for you. We're family," And it probably hurt a lot. And that's also his best friend. Like, because at the end of the, he finally, there's a really cute moment towards the end where he's like, "I missed you, man." Like, he finally lets it go, that chip he's holding. But you can tell it's because he's hurt.
I think he's, I don't think he's being an asshole. I think he's being blunt and having the walls up because he doesn't really trust David anymore. And like you said, his relationship with Mia, the dialogue states that he was there when she died temporarily. Like, he had to see that. So he's probably fed up with the drug use, with David not being around. His name David, sorry. Not being around.
Something that will help you remember the characters' names in this is we have David, Eric, Mia, Olivia, and Natalie. Their names spell demon.
Demon.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I did not know that, actually. But
that helps you remember.
Yeah, I think he's a bit less of an asshole than Scotty. Because Scotty comes across like, I'm trying to be the cool guy, I got this nerdy friend and I'm going to show him what's
a different kind of asshole.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's his own character. He's just slightly an homage. Like,
yeah, definitely.
I would also say to anyone, I've heard from some people who don't like this movie, I don't like the characters. We're not always our most likable selves. When you're detoxing, you're not likable. In fact, they say when the mom was having her mental illness, like, she was a monster. And that's the other reason they don't believe Mia, is they think she might have inherited her mother's mental illness. And it's not pretty. And these, Eric is still upset and wounded. And this is the first time they've hung out. And I feel bad for Natalie. Poor Natalie. You know that David dragged her along as a buffer because he's like, I haven't seen these people. I don't want to deal with it. But I do want to try to be a better person and be there for my sister. I totally got their relationships. I totally thought that these were people who were really trying their best. Nobody would go to a freaking cabin in the middle of nowhere to watch a girl detox unless they loved that girl. And they do love her. They watched her die. And we'll talk a little bit more about Mia's journey in a bit, but she had a physical death. She died. You know who wasn't there? David. Yeah, I'd be pissed too.
Well, David couldn't deal with their mom in his own ways, and that's why he took off. And he blames his new job and all this stuff, but it's just because he couldn't be there for that. Mia was there for that, but she also couldn't deal. But that's why she turned to drugs. It's very clear that what she went through broke her, and drugs are the only thing that kind of take away that pain.
Maybe Eric even blames him for her drug news. Maybe he thinks if her brother had been there, her big brother had been there, she wouldn't have needed that escape.
If they took the load together, maybe she wouldn't.
Yeah, maybe she could bear the brunt of their mother's illness with somebody else. She wouldn't have been in that position.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I think that having that extra person to kind of keep you is sane, having David there would probably keep her out of that kind of the drug use part of it. But having him going off, I can't do this. I have to put my all my efforts outside of the family and put it into my own job and just kind of get away because he couldn't handle it. It's the same thing of where me turning to the drugs.
Well, and Jessica's a registered nurse. Eric's a teacher. They had lives too, and they put them on hold to be there for her. And so
multiple times too.
Yeah, to them, I think there's no excuse. You started a garage. Okay.
Lydia, played by Jessica Lucas.
We're gonna get to them in a little bit. So I went off topic a little bit. It's nice to see Denisha here. What's up, girl? I want to talk about before we get into the characters more, because I think these characters are really cool. I really want to get deep inside of them and swallow their souls. I want to talk about some more of the tributes before we move on to the characters. Any other cool tributes to the Evil Dead franchise, or particularly that first movie that you guys noticed?
The hands being severed.
Yeah.
Chainsaw.
So what two ones did we have?
Well, we had Natalie cutting off her own hand when she knew that it was evil, and Mia basically mocking her. In the trailer, it's funny because, like you said, the trailer's telling her to cut her off, cut it off, and daring her to do it. But
she's like, cut it. But if you watch the movie, she's like, don't cut it. She wants her to get possessed.
Completely,
it's going into her, and she's like, no, and she takes it off, and it's so much work for that, and you feel so bad that later on she is possessed. That's kind of a reoccurring theme with all these characters. They try so hard not to be.
For Natalie.
Eric too. Eric also does. I don't want to be the devil's bitch. Ends up being the devil's bitch. Sadly,
I know that too. I was like, David, you heard him say he doesn't want to be the devil's bitch. Give the man peace. Burn his body.
Yeah, but you left him in water, which was contaminated with Mia.
But it fits David's character.
Exactly.
He can't burn his sister. He can't
make the hard decisions. He can't make those tough choices.
He's given up on people too much. And I don't think he's even really given up. I think they interpret it that way. I think he's run away. And he can't kill them because that's like saying it's like saying it's over.
And
and even watching somebody die, it's like putting an end to it, and he just can't.
And he is the homage to, he's not Ash, but he is an homage to Ash. He's that kind of filler because Ash in the first movie, he can't do it. He can't hit his sister or friend or girlfriend or whatever with an axe. Scotty has
he can punch his girlfriend in the face though.
Yeah,
what up?
He gets to that point. It pushes him once it's a one-man gang and that act, and that's the main reason why Ash is the final character, is because Sam Raimi knows his best friend can be tortured and can carry the movie at that point. That's the main reason why Cheryl is not.
Oh, what up, Old Dude Vampire Rise? Dude, this is the biggest fan of Old Dude Vampire here, by the way, Zach. So I'm gonna need you to help me with a shirt for him.
It's gotta be
you were telling me about that. You explained to me what that is.
I will. We'll talk more, my friend.
Lore.
So Adam and Zach, I'm sure you guys have your own. Do you guys have any Easter eggs? If you don't, that's fine. I'm putting you on the spot. Are there any that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. I mean the tree scene, the most infamous scene from the original.
Tell us about
I liked it a little better here because it seems to have served a plot purpose. It seems to be the mode of possession, where I believe in the first movie it's just kind of a shock value
It is how she's
situation.
possessed.
Is
But
it?
it's
My-
less clear.
My biggest problem
Okay.
with the original one, and I love Sam Raimi. I love that movie, so I'm not complaining about the movie. My only complaint about that is Sam Raimi did not tell her that she was going to be treated.
Oh,
So
that's
she
awful.
was very upset when she saw the movie. She felt
They just
violated.
stuck a stick up there.
And he has apologized to her. It's water under the bridge at this point. But he admits that was a big mistake. Like, he just didn't understand. He was just trying to think of something shocking, and I totally respect that. But I do like that Jane Levy, who played Mia in this, she knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
So I like, for that reason, I like this a lot more. Also, the effects in this are incredible. What goes into her places is more than a freaking twig. Actually, you know what? I got some clips for you guys. I teased these clips. Zach, if you don't mind me showing one really quick.
Go for
Play
it.
it.
All right, here we go.
Slither's
so
on
good.
it
Oh,
there.
by the way, I have some fun trivia and some fun clips. So if you want to give a super chat, I will give one of those especially for you. But Zach, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've just seen that scene. It's really good. Kind of reminds me. I'm a big fan of Japanese horror, and
Oh,
just
there
the
we go.
black hair, pale skin. I get that vibe.
And
it's
tentacles.
just so
I mean, it's
good
not a
looking.
tentacle, but you know what I mean. You know what
Yeah.
I mean.
There's another similarity to Japanese media, but yeah, it's not a branch. It's some kind of possession slug or something. But
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I don't want it near me.
Tongue.
The movie Splinter or whatever. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Plus, Splinter Splash.
Slither.
Somewhere between.
yeah, it's
Slither
kind of a
and
slither creature.
Okay, so you guys know that scene in Evil Dead 2, or Army of Darkness where Ash gets full on kicked squat in the balls, and it makes you kind of, I'm sure it makes you like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what this does to women. We're just like, oh.
So it's
We
been
don't
a
like
while since we did go see Evil Dead Rise last night, and my wife was like squirming in there, and it's really pushed her out of her element. So we watched this today, and she looked up right when that scene was happening, and our daughter's name, our brand new baby who's just turned 6 months, her name's Mia. So it was she's like, oh no, like, oh my god, like,
you know what? This is a badass character. I think your daughter's gonna be proud.
Yeah, but that sequence when she looked up, she saw that thing, and she's like, oh wow, that's not what her favorite things to see, of course, but it's such an effective moment. Like, even like that's the tree sequence with the demon slug or whatever you want to call it.
Knowing you and your wife, I'm pretty sure you're gonna raise a girl like Mia who can survive anything.
Yeah, that is true. My daughter's a big Mike Myers fan, so Michael Bad Myers
I love that.
She calls her my daughter Evelyn. So yeah,
he's got the coolest family, you guys. They're rad. His wife, his kids, they're the coolest.
There we go. We'll appreciate that. So I don't really
I'm big fans of his wife because she likes my art, which if you follow me on Instagram, you know what that is. And his kids are just a riot. So.
That's cool. Yeah.
Big fan of your family.
Thank you.
Just keeping horror in the family.
Yeah. I think most people would aspire to have a horror family like yours, Adam.
Yeah, welcome to the family, son. That's what Resident Evil.
And my little brother, speaking
quote.
of all the talk of siblings, my little brother, which by the way, he said something earlier. He said, if you become a deadite, Gory, I would chain you to the sofa so we can still watch movies together. So bless my brother's heart. He is the best little brother ever, even though he's a foot taller than me. He's not huge into horror, but he picks the franchises and we watch them all together. Even when he hates them, we watch all the Leprechauns together. We watch the Chuckies together. We're gonna watch all the Puppet Masters. So yeah, my brother, he's like my best friend. That's not my husband. But he did just give us a $2. What is your deadite catchphrase? I think I would go old school and just be like, "Swallow your soul, swallow your soul." Oh, that's an old. That's a good one. For Dusty, I'm gonna show you one of my favorite parts in the opening of this movie, which it's really cool. Because what this movie does is it subverts your expectations. We see this girl who looks innocent, and I like it because horror has a history of demonizing people with physical disabilities. They're always the bad guy. And in this case, her dad says, no, they're good people. They're good people. And you realize she's the bad guy. Here's the scene where we see that change in her.
Please stop. I will rip your soul out, Daddy. I'll rip your soul out!
And when it comes to reality, usually the people being burned at the stake were pretty innocent and all that. So fair play to like let us know that they know that, but then to like change it up, because a lot of propaganda would tell you, yeah, they're always the evil one, but reality, we know they weren't. So it's funny that they know that we know the reality, and then they still change it up that way.
What's up, Cheyenne? Good to see you here. Here's a few more. Danny, the Delta, tell us.
Oh yeah, we get the Oldsmobile. That's like one of my favorite Easter eggs. It's not actually Sam Raimi's Oldsmobile.
I'm going to show it to them real quick, if you don't mind.
No, don't. Not a modern car, so it would be kind of weird if one of them was driving that. They have like the red Jeep and stuff,
it's abandoned at the cabin. She's just sitting on it while she draws the cabin.
But it also lets us know that there might be some sort of parallel to Ash and his friends from back in the day.
It makes you wonder, because we know other people have been in their cabin. They burned that girl who was possessed by a deadite. So it makes you wonder, like, maybe Ash's adventure happened here in the 80s.
And maybe
it wasn't their cabin. They were squatting.
Yeah, and well, even if it was the Nobi cabin originally in the 80s, her family, like when Ash and everybody got sucked into the portal in the Oldsmobile. Well, I guess in this dimension, the Oldsmobile didn't get sucked up, but maybe her parents bought it like shortly after that.
Yeah, we don't know how the ownership of Mia's family is with this. Maybe it's just a cabin they knew of that they went to. It's not owned by anybody.
I like that.
But it's really cool. I also love that scene I just showed you. What is up with my S's right now? I love that scene I showed you because this movie is so dark. It's surreal how dark this movie is. And I like that we get a brief moment to see kind of these characters at their best before all hell breaks loose. The moment they go into that cabin, it's very dark and it's a huge, departure from like where they came from. Like they've entered hell. But that moment there where she's on the car, and it's really beautiful, that backlit, sunlit frame. It's really pretty. I think it was a nice way to introduce the characters before things got really crazy. For me, that was enough for me to care for and root for these characters. Yeah, she has that nice moment with David. There's a nice moment between Jessica and David.
Not so nice between Jessica and Natalie or whatever, but but
I understand it, because to Jessica, Natalie's an intruder. She doesn't know who the fuck Natalie is.
She's not there because she cares. She cares about David.
No, for her, this is family business. They're about to watch their sister, their best friend, go through hell, and she doesn't want to share that with a stranger.
Yeah.
It's scary. But for David, it's like he needs that buffer because he's afraid to face these people after all these years. And poor Natalie, she's trying to be the good girlfriend. She's trying to be friendly to his sister. And also to the actress, Elizabeth Blackmore. A lot of her lines got cut. But I think we still get enough to where we sympathize with her. This poor girl was dragged there. Her boyfriend is just kind of abandons her the moment they get there because he's got shit to do. He's got to take care of his little sister.
Each other a lot. This movie.
Yeah, I sympathize with her. I feel so
She's
bad
the
for
most
her.
dragged into the situation.
I have been the girlfriend, not with this guy, but I have been that girlfriend where you're there as a lover. You're like,
she doesn't really have the same emotional stakes that everybody has, so she's just kind of there because she knows one person. I've been to parties like that. It's awkward.
You've been to that party where you're like, oh shit, I don't know anybody else, and then the person who brought you there abandons you, and you're like, oh, what now?
Like,
what do I do?
Yes.
And anybody who has like the gumption to fucking cut off their arm with a turkey cutter, because I've cut through turkey bone leg like thighs with a turkey cutter.
It barely works.
It's fucking easy. It's so hard.
We took a break earlier because I still wanted to talk about some more of these Easter eggs. So we haven't gotten through them all. We took a break earlier to talk about Lou Taylor Pucci, which, by the way, everybody in this movie has got some cool horror cred. Lou Taylor Pucci, who we talked about earlier, I mentioned he was in You. Also in American Horror Story, also in Ava's Possession. My favorite thing ever is Spring.
Ava's Possession. Yeah, I need to watch that.
Spring is the best romantic horror movie of all time. You and your wife need to watch that. Zach and your girlfriend, you guys need to watch this movie. It's truly a masterpiece. Amazing film. He is incredible in it. But talking about Elizabeth Blackmore, she's done Supernatural and Vampire Diaries. And I do think she's really good in this. You don't need to have her have a lot of dialogue to get this impression that she is this girl who's really out of her element here. She's never, you get the impression that she's almost from like a small town. She's never seen anyone deal with drug addiction. She's trying her best to be supportive, be a good girlfriend. She understands that her boyfriend is there for his sister, and she's trying not to call a lot of attention to herself. And she's trying to do what's best. But when push comes to shove,
she'll cut her arm off with a turkey
that's
cutter.
hard. Can you imagine? I don't know if I could do that. If my arm was like that, I don't know if I could cut it off with a damn turkey carver.
Like,
Yeah,
I
who
thought
knew
about
a turkey
that.
And
carver
no, I
could
don't
cut
have
off,
I don't have a clip because it's not safe for YouTube.
Like I said, turkey
Watch
carver
the movie.
going through bone
Darn.
is not easy. It'd be a very painful.
I'm surprised those cuts of meat were like so good. I'm like, it still looks just look butchered. I'm like, that's like the best. Like, how sharp were those blades? Because it never turns out like that. I've
No.
used it one time, and you completely shred all the meat. So
It was a good turkey carver, apparently.
it was apparently top of the line.
Ah.
They spared no expense. Apparently,
Nail gun too.
Fair doing. I love it.
The nail
What
gun.
hardware
I
store did
Also,
they go to?
Cheyenne, this is my Mia cosplay for the movie, so hope you like it. Thank you.
And not only
The
that,
nail
it's
gun.
like it's very raw looking, like a pot roast too. Like, not only she cut it so good, but it's like raw. Like
It
when
doesn't
cut,
look
like
raw. It looks
not-
like it's been sitting out for too long. It's got that grayish color.
it
Like,
doesn't look like it's fully cooked.
it
though.
looks like it was in the cooler for too long. It started to go bad, where it's not fully bad, but it's bad.
like medium rare.
it was
it's
not
gross.
It's
appetizing.
pretty rare.
It's yucky.
My dad used to make pot roast at the time. It didn't look like that. It was pretty
Yeah.
rare.
I make you good, Packer.
But the thing with that one character, though, even though she cuts her arm off, the nail gun situation, I'm like, that's whenever they bring a nail gun into a horror movie, I'm like, there's so many safety features so that in those nail guns that they don't shoot like that. But I get it. It works. It's effective. It
also doesn't have an air pump on it, but you know what? Horror movie. I'm gonna go
whatever. I'm like, I'm totally on board for it. Like, I turn off that side of the brain. Like, that. Stop being critical of the stupid nail gun
Exactly.
sequence.
Plus, if we're giving
Yeah.
a pass on Ash's chainsaw arm because he's got a nub and there's no way he's pulling a trigger, like that's just like if you're not
It's
pulling a
kinda
trigger,
like-
it's not working.
One of my
It
favorite
just
movies
works.
is Planet Terror. The physics of a leg gun
the
don't
grind,
work.
the grindhouse. Yeah.
Never-
Yeah.
I
Who
love that.
reloads his gun? You know, there's no logic in these movies. You need to.
I'll
Yeah.
let a turkey carver cut through it. I'll let a nail gun go a little more high powered than normal, especially without an
It's a
air
good turkey
Nice.
carver. They have a good
Yeah.
Home Depot near.
right? I'll let it go. I don't.
I think that
Nice one.
even though her character may not be as developed as other ones, I think she had some of the cooler moments coming out with that nail gun and just, and man, these people they're pristine. They're like super accurate with that nail gun too. That's the best part of it. Like, that's the best part.
And she's
Um,
scary, right?
Deadites are
She
good with
is.
hardware.
All the Deadites are scary. In this one.
They are.
I think
They're
they,
good.
because I think everyone's so consumed with what's going on with Mia, they kind of forget about this new girl who's in their group, and she honestly battles Mia for best Deadite in this. I think Mia is by far the best Deadite, but Natalie, damn girl, you were fighting for that first place spot because she's a great
Good
Deadite.
look.
We haven't talked a lot about it, but all the effects in this movie are practical, with the exception of fire and hiding a few wires, and then also putting the abomination, Mia's face in the abomination. Beyond that, everything is practical. So watch the behind the scenes. Like, Elizabeth Blackmore is holding her arm behind her, and then she has 2 arms missing. Like, what she's doing, and her performance. She has a prosthetic, or not. It's not even a prosthetic. It's another woman behind her who's acting as the arm. But
just
you
cut it
never disbelieve that that's her arm. She's acting with it seamlessly.
Yeah, out through the kitchen drawer underneath the sink or whatever, there's another woman with an arm, and then like there's this part that's just straight up not real, and that's what she's cutting through. But the arm's moving because there's another woman's arm
And
through there.
I'll talk about this more
Cool.
in when we get to that after we talk about characters. But this movie really brings back the magic of practical effects. So you watch a movie like The Prowler, and you're like, how did Tom Savini do that?
Oh,
It's a magic trick. It's like going to a magic show. This movie is that magic show. Everything's practical. That tongue, all of it's practical.
Oh, God,
that's
watching that this time around, I was like, oh God, the tongue sequence. Oh yeah, that.
It's my
Never
Am
favorite.
I
Exactly.
weird
Exactly.
with that?
Exactly.
It's
Same
a
way.
little hot though.
Yeah, I
Okay,
guess
I'm weird.
so. Slightly
If one
aroused.
wasn't split, then maybe. You know.
I kind of like
The
it.
reason why I don't think Mia is that hot is because she reminds me a lot of Reagan, and that's not a bad thing. Reagan is a very possessed icon, but Reagan's way underage. Like, so that's where it's like that's
Yeah.
probably why the Mia thing doesn't work for me. Where in the new Evil Dead Rise, Ellie, she's kind of hot because she's like a mom. Like, I
We're
don't know.
getting into some uncomfortable, like when you take the Fangoria magazine alone with you to the bathroom territory.
Right?
And I love how you're smiling because you know, we've all done it. You're my people.
Like, which
Wait,
Jedi
what?
would you
No,
let
no,
swallow
no,
your
no.
soul?
I don't
So
think,
Zigma, I have something very special for you. You wanted to see more clips. Something I discovered when I was preparing for this stream is a little bit of trivia. So
Okay,
the
here we
woman
go.
who's in the beginning of this, the old woman who's doing the ritual to try and help release this girl's soul, save her soul. She's also in the very first episode of Ash versus Evil Dead.
Landlord
She is the
lady.
very first Deadite. So I've combined both clips so you can see them together.
Ooh, here we
Let's go.
same
Oh,
hair.
That's Cian Davis. So kind of a cool little thing.
Yeah, and
Same hair too.
I loved her especially in Ash vs. Evil Dead because just the way she dressed and her hair, like she looked just like one of my best friends growing up, like grandma. Like who I spent a lot of time with. That
Brandon?
lady. Yeah, Brandon's grandma. Like it's just like Brandon's grandma. And I'm like, oh,
Well, shout out to
was a
Brandon's
great
grandma.
woman.
What's up, Brandon? How you doing, man?
I love you guys.
Hell yeah.
Ellen, that was her name, and like it was just like really cool woman that like in a sense, me and Brandon were almost brothers. So like his grandma was my grandma, same way the other way around.
I think Helen.
When I
became
saw
the
that, and
MVP
like
of the episode.
the pink jumper that she's very 80s they wear, that like that's exactly how her style was too. So this is really cool.
It's perfect.
So I keep coming back to like the little Easter eggs and stuff. Are there any other ones that you guys wanted to talk about?
I think if it's not an Evil Dead movie unless you have a chainsaw. It's kind of like it's not a Star Wars movie without a lightsaber. You have to have a chainsaw and everything. So I think just having them subtly drop it here, that chainsaw is not good. It's going to be like a hint, not going to be used. It's going to come back somewhere in the movie, like they did in every single one. You can't have it. Yeah, check chainsaw. You have
Check
to
out
have
chainsaw.
Even in Rise, you get a chainsaw and a boomstick. I don't hope that's too much of a spoiler for you, anybody. But that's what the thing. You gotta kind of have those things. Those are like
in the Evil Dead movie. Come on.
Like if you went into that not expecting that, sorry.
I figured chainsaws would play in the movie.
I think a book and a chainsaw are kind of essential at this point. By the way, hello, Horror Movies and Beyond. Nice to see you here. Another one, it's a little subtle, but I really like that kind of the quotes from the original movie don't really call a lot of attention to themselves. But one of my favorite parts of The Evil Dead is when Linda's like, Ash, I guessed all the cards right. I'm psychic. And he's like, yeah, truly amazing. Because he's distracted by listening to the tape, but I really love it. And in this one, Eric's complaining about how David hasn't been around and he's not quite ready to forgive him. And Olivia's like, but he's here now. And he's like, yeah, truly amazing. I love that little Easter egg. It's subtle, but it's a good one. Another one is the lullaby. There's a song that Fede Alvarez wrote for the film. It's like that, little baby song. And to me, that's a callback to Evil Dead 2 when Annie sees her mom Henrietta in the fruit cellar and she starts singing that, if that looking glass would break song, I don't know the name of it, but
I don't know it either, but I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And speaking
Hush, little baby, don't say,
Henrietta,
Mama's gonna buy
shout out
you.
to her. She is by far the hottest Deadite.
You're so weird.
And I would love to try her pizza, by the way. Apparently she makes pizza.
So I liked that, and I liked how it gives us this moment where right before David tries to burn his sister, she sings that song and he's just like, he can't. It kind of breaks him a little bit. He looks at the pictures of them together on the wall and he's like, nope, I've given up on my sister too much. This is hard, but I'm going to fight every step of the way and just see if there's any way we can get her, which I kind of like because as much as Evil Dead 2 is my favorite, but there's a moment when Henrietta recognizes Annie in Evil Dead 2 and then Ash kills her. I'm like, oh my gosh, give her a second. She might have been able to get her mom back.
I don't know. Her neck was already like stretched out at that point. I don't know if there was coming back from that. But I get it. He should have been. The Kandarian dagger is great. That's the one thing. It's like, where's that been lately? That has not appeared recently. I want the Kandarian dagger back.
It's they lost it and Jason Goes to Hell.
Ugh, stupid Jason.
Oh, yeah. All the
Here's
best.
so I've talked about this in past streams, but when I was growing up, my parents are big horror movie fans, and my father is much more. He's more of a baby than my mom is. My mother's tough as nails. But my dad was terrified of the Evil Dead. So I was forbidden to watch this, Dawn of the Dead, and The Exorcist. And this movie was for that scene where Linda is chanting, "We're gonna get you." My father could not sleep. And this movie homages that. So I'm going to show that clip to you guys here. Time to go to sleep. And there's a little bit of poor Natalie there too.
Like quivering.
Such great performances. Such great performances.
Makes
An iconic shot with her peeking through the cellar.
She's such. I mean, I like that she wasn't trying to be Henrietta or even Cheryl.
Yeah, it was original cellar dweller.
And one of the things they said in the behind the scenes, Jane Levy said, is that they were given the freedom to try a lot of different stuff. So she could do a really over the top take, and Fetty would be like, "Okay, try it, maybe dial it back a bit," and she'd be like, "Oh, I want to try it this way." And he'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, try it that way." So they were giving a lot of freedom to kind of play around and make it their own.
Ad lib a little bit, like obviously know what you're going for, what you're supposed to say, but he would like say some takes. What's in your head? Like say it this way, say it the way you would say it, funny, say it scary, that's just kind of the way they'd go with it.
And before we dig deeper into the characters, another one I want to mention is the Buried Alive. Ash cuts up everybody but his girlfriend Linda in the first movie. We also have Ash burying evil Ash in Army of Darkness. And we have another Buried Alive scene in this movie, which is actually the scariest one. I'm going to talk about that a little bit here in a minute.
Hey Mia, you got something on your face.
So that's entirely practical, guys. She's got a plastic sheet overhead. There's a tiny pump in there that's pumping air, but it would actually suction onto the plastic. So there would be times where she could not breathe. Then Fede, he wanted when Shiloh, who plays David, to doing that little prayer, like, "Please come back, please come back." He wanted him to feel the urgency of your little sister's down there. You need to hurry. And two, to feel like that he's talking to somebody, that there's somebody underneath. So he did go in there first, but they kind of had like a grave with a lid over it. He did it first, and then he had Jane do it. But the whole time he is there doing that prayer, she is under the ground beneath him.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's just very method in a sense, because like he's waiting for that fire in the tree to like extinguish, to let him know that maybe the evil's gone and like she's dead technically, and therefore it's left her body. But yeah, she's in a coffin. Like she's like, "Can I come out now?" When they finally open up the coffin, and like he's been doing the whole scene. So
they put her through hell, but Fetty does that with a lot of different things too. To get David scared enough for that scene, they're on location. Some of the interior stuff is on a set in America, but the woods are in New Zealand. They're on location where they built a cabin, and he walked Shiloh out into the middle of the woods. He's like, "I'm going to leave you here in the dark for like 15 minutes. And then I'm going to come back for you." By the time he got him, that guy was spooked. He told him all these scary stories too about how blood had been spilled in those woods. So the guy's freaking out. He's alone in the dark. And then they make him do that scene.
And then he threw a real bird at him, knowing that birds are scary to him. Like, that was outrage. But directors are dicks. That's just how they are.
I feel like they did it trying to get the best performance out of them.
I think that's how most dick directors do it. But I think it's like, I wish that Raimi had a time travel like machine where he could like show old school Raimi, like, "Look, we were able to make 2 cabins, one on a set with like, we even like raised it up and put a fucking cellar like set underneath it, but then we also made a cabin in the woods that's on location with like cool woods." So it's like it was like Raimi was probably like, "That's why I made Evil Dead 2, because I wanted to do it with money."
Let's
Remy had $500.
Let's talk a little bit more about Mia, who's played by Jane Levy. What you love about her, what you love about Jane Levy's performance, just have at thee.
Well, I think that obviously having a really killer name like my daughter's, but
yes, good job, Dad.
not planned by any means, but I think what I really like is that she's pretty much overcome. She's completely a different character since when you meet her to like she kind of with getting the deadite out, she's kind of like cured of all her addiction. It seems like because she's completely coherent to what's going on. She's like, okay, I got all this out of me now. I need to get this guy
in more ways than one.
In more than ways than one. I'm cured of what the deadite out of me, and then also like kind of like it feels like her addiction isn't affecting her in that spot, even though we saw her kind of at her rock's bottom before the deadite got into her. So I really liked that part of it too. I think also seeing her little subtle moments with her brother David were really good, kind of making those characters stronger throughout the film too. So really liked that.
Well put.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah. I think Mia's great. I think that actress had a lot to do. She had to be the recovering addict. She had to be possessed, and then she had to be a person who got shit done at the end. She has time. Like, I mean, I guess there's a time with her and her brother after she comes back, but a few minutes and she has to go into I'm going to take care of business mode. Her possess acting is really good. I think one of the scenes is the whispering scene. She's in the one scene of that movie that grosses me out, which is the shower scene.
Oh yeah.
Water.
And you sympathize when you understand what's going on with the book. She's trying to get it out of her.
And blistering skin has been a thing, like Sleepaway Camp that got to me too. And just
it's so well done. Poor Jane Levy. She had to be in hours of makeup for that, and for being the abomination and everything else. Here's a little clip of just one of I think her best scenes in this is right when she's seen the abomination in the woods, and she's trying to convince David that they need to leave after he's been told we're not leaving no matter what. You know, she's gonna do this because she's an addict.
There was something in the woods, David. And I think it's in here with us now.
She's so good. Even like the spit and stuff, because the thing is, you're in that situation, especially with deadites, you're not going to be all glamorous, and it's just so like a lot of people have said like the body horror of it, you know?
Yeah,
comes across kind of Blair Witch project, because of like the snot and kind of like the spitting too, a little bit, you know, like when she's
not
talking
meant
to
be
camera.
Attractive in this movie, you know. She's you're supposed to
Bless
see
her
the
heart.
movie.
She's got DVD or Blu-ray extra called Becoming Mia, and she's showing all her makeup on. She's like, yeah, so glamorous being an actress. It's so wonderful.
She talks about it. She goes to the makeup artist, like, who makes her look like a deadite, like evil Mia and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I come in here just feeling so ugly with my natural look, but then you make me feel beautiful, like with all the covered in blood, and then like I leave you, and then someone else puts fresh watery blood on me. They spray me with. It's like just to make sure it's all
something
right.
about Jane Levy I really want to talk about. This was her first horror role. So interesting how she got this. So nuts. I can't remember the name of the actress, but she played the older version of the character in Fear Street Part 2. Damn, I can't remember her name. But then why am I drawing such a blank on people's names? The gal from Mortal Instruments.
Oh yeah.
What's her name? Look that up.
Miss Mortal.
I can't see her doing this. What is her
Mortal
name?
M Instrument.
She's also in that Emily in Paris show. Lily, I think her name's Lily.
Yeah, Lily. That sounds familiar. We were just talking about it earlier today.
Lily something or other. I have to look it up. Lily Collins. So Lily Collins got the role. She turned this down after she got the role for Mortal Instruments. I can't see her doing this. I can't. But granted, Jane Levy, I mean, this was her first horror role. It's so crazy, you know, the things she has to say to the person who's her brother, and just, I mean, you gotta say some nasty ass stuff, and you gotta do some incredible stunts. She went through hell for this. I'm pretty sure when Fede called her out for Don't Breathe, which is her second horror role, she's incredible. She was like, so makeup? He's like, yeah, no, none. She's like, lots of stunts. He's like, not too many. I don't think he told her about the turkey baster role. We'll talk about that some other day.
Oh god.
You need a real reaction to that. You can't tell her going.
Yeah.
I'll give you my thoughts on Mia. Okay,
yeah, I'd love your thoughts. Sorry, I skipped over you.
fine. Jane Levy, I'm glad she got the role. I would love to see Lily's like audition tape. Just love to see it.
I
Why
just
they
have never
want-
seen her not play kind of that milquetoast kind of girl.
She was their first pick, but I'm glad that
She wasn't
did.
their first, she was their
Well,
second.
Second, but either way, I'm glad she turned it down because Jane, I think, nailed it. She was. It's funny that like while her audition though, Bruce Campbell basically drilled her. Are you ready to be buried alive? Are you ready to be covered in like blood? Like where you have to do 2 hours of makeup just to get into makeup. Then you have a 12-hour, 14-hour day. Then an hour to take off makeup. He kept like, drilling her about all this. Like, are you really ready to do and get all grimy and shit? And she's like, yes, that's all. That's fine. Like that's what she told him. But like she's like in her head starting to second think a little bit of this, but she did it.
It's a lot. The actress I was thinking of is Jillian Jacobs. She originally had the part, and then they cast Lily Collins, and then Lily Collins turned it down, and that's how we got her. But yeah, Bruce Campbell, like you said, he sent an email to everyone in the beginning, and he said, you know, I don't feel sorry for people when they complain about movies. After this movie, he's like, you're going to see that every movie you do is easy. This is the hardest thing. You're going to go through hell. You need to know how hard this is going to be on you physically, how hard this is going to be on you emotionally. It's going to be hard. But he said, you know what? I've always believed that movies that are easy to make are not fun to watch. And movies that are hard to make are fun to watch.
Yeah, so I think Jane did great. But now as just the Mia character in general, I want to kind of like go on about that. I wasn't paying super close attention to her because I was really being critical of David, who I thought was going to be the Ash character.
He had like he was like, I'm coming for you, bro.
Like, how dare you be the Ash character? That's just like my mindset going into this. Where me, I know she was the Cheryl of this, but
my husband worships Bruce Campbell and everything he stands for.
Well, that's why he got. That's why he got on like the specialty award.
Yes,
for this
yes.
year.
If you ask him, are you Christian, agnostic? He's like Bruce Campbell. That's the answer.
My religion is Bruce Campbell.
It's a religion.
It's groovy.
But regardless, so I wasn't being super like invested in Mia at the first of this because I thought she was the Cheryl character, and I didn't think she was gonna survive. I was taking notes on like what she did before and as a Deadite. One thing I loved right away though was that she is detoxing. She is coming down from some crazy shit. Like it's like those slugs are gonna be partying down in the bottom of that well, and whatever little animals.
David, that's so Diablo Cody line. That is a Diablo
exactly.
Cody
All the coke goes down there. So like those animals, whatever's living in that well is gonna have fun. But that was like a cool aspect about it. Like nobody's like really tripped out and then had to deal with all this shit because like what does she even know is real and not real at this point?
She even doubts herself.
Exactly.
I'm going to show you a clip really quick of the moment she's possessed. Right after this clip, she says, please God, please help me get through this. At this point, she still thinks she's detoxing.
And to be fair, it's probably a little of both.
Honda.
She vomits and she says, please God, please help me get through this. She doesn't know she just got smacked in the face with a freaking demon.
And that evil probably just projectile vomited all the drugs out of her because it probably doesn't want that. It probably just like, nope, I'm taking over drugs.
I'd like to think of Mia's arc. She had a physical death before the events of the movie where she died from an OD. She has a spiritual death once the Deadites overtake her. And then she's kind of reborn thanks to her brother. And she's clean of all that shit. And the only other person who's been through that is Ash, where they've been a Deadite and they've come back from it. Yeah. And I personally believe that once you're a Deadite, it's in you. It's just you're the stronger force. You're the stronger willpower. And even like that moment at the end when she opens her eyes, I think that's letting us know that she's strong. It's still her, but it's in there. It's whispering inside of her. Just like Ash, I think until he separates the two and kills evil Ash, it's in him.
Well, both of them are the only two that really physically and literally went at war with each other.
They
went at war with themselves. Like Ash, built an army, and evil Ash built an army, and they went to war with it. Mia going against the Abomination, who takes her form because that's her most like messed up like fear is her druggy self. Because the Abomination like does use the pronouns he and him or whatever. So, but he takes her, female-ish form. He's basically evil Mia because he knows that's like her biggest fear is seeing herself as this messed up, druggy, evil version of herself.
If you don't know what I'm talking about with the eyes opening thing, first off, I'm gonna say if you like this movie, or even if you didn't like this movie, watch it again. Watch the extended version. You get 11 extra minutes of footage, including a mid-credit scene. I'm gonna show you a little part of that now. I will tell you now, it's been edited, it's cut up, which is what I've had to do because I have to keep the clip short. But you get also other scenes too. I'm gonna show you a little bit more of that later on. It is the better version of the two.
Don't you worry, kid. I'm taking you to the hospital and they'll patch you up in no time.
That mid-credit scene you don't get in your theatrical cut.
Now,
Unless you're in the UK.
I want to like kind of develop that scene. Where her eyes are not dead-eyed eyes. So she's not straight up possessed, but just the urgency and the noise would suggest that maybe she's still battling with that in somewhere. Like, even if it is just like going to be mental trauma, she's going to have a battle for the rest of her life.
Hey, I just want to say goodnight to Cheyenne and Jason really quick. Thank you guys so much for watching the show. All right, sorry.
Oh, and one last thing though about when I think Mia, because I was going on about her character, is like I always think of that verse from Buffy the musical where she's like, "I died twice."
I think a part of you will part of you will always die when you separate the two entities. So definitely not going to be the same that she was before she became a Deadite, for sure. So definitely died twice.
And I think it also speaks a lot to David's character because he's told she's going through withdrawals. She's going to beg to leave. You know, and he also knows he's afraid, he says, of inheriting his mother's mental illness and of Mia inheriting it. But still, when it gets bad enough, when she burns herself, he doesn't think twice. He puts her in the car and he tries to take her out of there. It's just too late.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, she has some thorns and she's saying stuff, but her friends and everybody, like Olivia and stuff, especially, like, she's like, I'm giving her the treatment that the hospital gave her. Let us do this here. He's on their side at first, and she like tries to manipulate. You're supposed to be on my side, not their side. But then, yeah, once she's physically boiled, he's like, let's get in the car and get you to a hospital.
Yeah.
As a line, yeah. Zigma has a question really quick, and I want to share it for Zombie Toon. You said much how you feel about the series so far from where it started to how it is today. How do you think the series has changed from where it started to how it is today? I think that's a good question for both of you.
Well, Sam Raimi for money. Big difference. I think the Evil Snake, some of it feels like stuff that Sam Raimi wouldn't if he had a bigger budget. These two cabins, practical stuff. His life easy. Wise, really like Ash versus. It kind of keeps that for Ash that we know, but keeping it more contemporary, and it does feel like a similar tone to the remake, just with Ash being the one to lighten it up. And I like that. I haven't seen Rise yet. I plan to see it coming week. So
I think you're gonna like it. It's awesome.
But as far as the latest thing I've seen being the show, it balances what this movie that we're talking about did and Bruce Campbell's humor really well. And that's again why I don't remake, because I could see Bruce Campbell falling into this really well, show up and meet Mia. I could see him just fitting in perfectly.
It looks like my horror brother craving something scary is in the chat. Congratulations on 9K. Also, hi to Michael Joe. Yeah, Zach, I think that's very well said. I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think we've talked about Mia a lot. Let's talk about David a little bit. What do you guys want to talk about? Save for David. I will say, David, okay, I came to David with some preconceptions. I have seen Red Riding Hood where he's like busted. But mostly the first thing I saw him in was Dead Girl.
That was early on. I showed it to you when we just started dating. I don't know.
It's a very disturbing movie where two high school boys find a zombie girl and they tie her to a bed, and it's gross. It's really disturbing. So
nice.
I wasn't sure how I felt about this guy. But he does such a good job in this. Like, he's such a creeper in Dead Girl. In this, like, you really feel like he's just like he's doing his best, but he just doesn't have that thick shell he needs to survive.
Yeah, Shiloh and Dead Girl, him and his really creepy friend find the zombie girl, and his really creepy friend makes most of these gross decisions, but he kind of obviously goes around with it enough until like a bully gets brought in, and
We don't
But-
talk about that girl.
I know, but it's just at the end of that, that was disgusting. That was my first introduction to Shiloh as well, as my point. Because he does find a woman he loves who gets in the same situation. And I'm like, ooh, and like this.
Actually, that all ties together because the girl who played the girl he liked in Dead Girl was in Vampire Diary. She's Carolyn. And then Elizabeth Blackmore, who's his girlfriend, and this was also in Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, see, like in that he was. Well, there you go. I'm using Dead Girl to kind of go with this because Ash, hopeless romantic in the first movie, right? David, we don't know how he met Natalie. Like he just shows up with her. But my introduction to Shiloh is like he's like, oh, my friend's gross, and like these other people are gross. He's still like contributing to the grossness, but he's like in himself like keeping himself away from it until the dead girl escapes. But she bites the girl he loves and he's been pining over, and then like she becomes a zombie and he does the same thing to hers. But that's like I said, he has like that character even in that movie where he's kind of the Ash, like he wants to like be better than that, but he's just he thinks he's innocent. He's not, but that's just my way of Shiloh. And in this, that's what he is. He's a coward. Like straight up, Eric tells him he's a coward. You just run away and stuff. And that's kind of like how Scotty was like to Ash in the first movie. He was like, you're not doing this. I'm doing everything. You just sit there and be useless.
Yeah,
basically.
he's like, we need to go or we need to, destroy these Deadites. And he's like, but Shirley's our friend.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, I don't like. I saw him in Red Riding Hood was the first thing I saw him in, but I don't recall that movie at all because it's kind of forgettable. But I think as for this one is that you can also understand why he is the way he is, why he making those tough decisions, not being able to seeing the people that he does care about in like their worst possible state at the same time, like his mom, like he couldn't see his mom in a certain way, so leaving that situation so that he can remember the best parts of his mom, I can understand that. And his sister at the same time, like he wasn't there the first time they tried to detox her, and so now he makes a point that I need to be here, and he's determined to not let his sister down again. I think it's watching him this time around compared to the last couple of times I've seen it it's super fascinating to see. Like he definitely tries his best to be the person that his sister needs him to be. He just can't like burn her alive. It's like, well, you know what? I'm gonna go bury her instead and come up with this crazy this makeshift defibrillator like he does.
And when he's making that's a total callback to those quick edits they do in that first movie.
I love it too. It definitely I really like the kind of homage. It's kind of subtle, which is great, and just the wherewithal to know that how to make a defibrillator like that. I thought that was that's innovative. Way to go. Way to use this. He didn't have a lot of materials, but he used what he had to get the job done. I like that. So
yeah.
And what do you want to say about David, Zach?
Well, David, I liked him. Obviously, you go in thinking he's the hero. I never, I wasn't like Danny, where I was just waiting for him to pick up Chainsaw and be Ash, because right off the bat, I mean, I guess that's because I'm thinking like everybody knows, not he feels.
Oh no, you're kind of cutting out a little bit.
Cutting out
a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, how's that?
Better for a second, yeah.
Are we good? Let me check.
That seemed to be better, but it still seems like the video is a little glitched.
Oh, it's the video? I thought it was my audio.
Yeah,
well,
it's
video.
your audio.
Yeah, its audio was choppy, but yeah.
Your video pauses a little bit.
How's that?
Sorry to interrupt you. I just don't. I want to understand what you're saying.
Here I am ruining the.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I'm kidding.
These are both great guests.
Am I coming in clear?
You sound good now. Oh shoot!
Oh, we just lost him entirely.
I broke him. I broke
got
him.
him.
It might
That I
refresh
got
it.
him. Holy cow!
Um,
And I thought I just had
Probably
electrical
it looks
issues.
like an internet connection thing, but hopefully he figures it out. I'm going to show you guys another clip. Just talking about the practical effects. The actors said that really, really helped because a lot of what we
Yep.
see on screen was done in camera. One of the really cool scenes that's entirely in camera. Hey,
I took your spot.
one of the scenes that's entirely in camera is the scene when Mia's like, "You're all gonna die tonight," and there's lightning and everything's shaking. That's all done there. It's like they're in a haunted house. So I'm gonna play that for you guys really quick.
You are all going to die tonight.
Also, did you guys hear that one by one we will take you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That is actually a clip of Cheryl from the original movie. It's a little Easter egg.
Oh, there we go. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think practical effects and anything you can do like is in person is so much better than doing like the CGI stuff. Like I think a lot of the big franchises, they're big, it's the big franchises. Like I think Star Wars is the one that really kind of did the practical effects originally with like the OG stuff, and then they make multiple sequels, and they went to the CGI, and it kind of was completely kind of garbage. Look at 1999, Phantom Menace there. But I practical effects is where it's at. You can get more out of it, I think. And instead of having an actor play off a tennis ball, they can actually play off an actual like scary images and kind of the mutilations of different dismemberments of body parts. I think when you actually can visualize it, I think it's more effective as a film goer. You can actually see their terror in their eyes than having them kind of like, what am I actually doing?
I think that helps definitely for them to be immersed in the experience and get the best performance out of them.
Yeah.
Zach, if you're having problems with your internet, it does help to, I guess, plug it directly into the internet, be close to your router, or if you want, you can be audio only if you think that would be better.
I
Just
think
not
I'm good for now.
Okay.
Man, I went a whole hour without it. So here's hoping.
Yeah, you were doing
Happens
great
again
before.
later.
I got double fingers crossed for you, bud.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
oh, one last thing to say about
Well, hold on,
Shiloh-
I think Zach was going
Oh,
to say
yeah,
something.
I appreciate the double fingers. Us. Go ahead, Danny.
Oh, one last thing to say about Shiloh is he's like the only one that doesn't get covered in like everything in this movie. Like he had the most easy like job.
I know he
Gets shot in
gets
the
to be
shoulder.
a lead character. He doesn't have to wear prosthetics. He doesn't have to have hours in the makeup chair. He doesn't have to do anything really bad.
And
Make an off-camera death. Come on,
And then the
lame.
uncut-
I want to talk about that in a
boys.
little bit, but let Danny finish.
yeah, the uncut version you'll get to see some like
I
context.
wanted to
but,
show that. So,
one last thing about
sorry,
David
Danny.
though. Last thing about David, his plan originally is to burn everything down. I'm glad that he did decide not to do that and make a defibrillator and just like try and drug her for everything and bury her alive. Because I don't think burning the cabin down was gonna kill Mia. She's down there with a bunch of water. She probably would have lived. I mean, Michael Myers survived burning a house down. I think Mia would have been fine. Anyway,
Very
I'm
good
done.
point. Very good point. So yeah, one of the things that confuses a lot of people because they have this rule that the abomination will rise when 5 souls are taken, and then it will rain blood. And so if you watch the theatrical version, you're like, okay, wait a second, it ate Mia's soul. It chomped on Mia's soul for a
Fed
bit.
on 5 souls.
It got Natalie, it got Olivia, it got Eric, and then you're like, wait, where's the 5th one? Because they cut out a crucial scene. So if that bothered you with the theatrical one, I mean, I let it go. I let a lot go. If the movie's good, I'm there for the ride. But I do like the extended theatrical or the extended unrated cut because it shows us this scene that I think makes all the difference. So we see that David was the 5th one.
He did have dead
Yeah.
eyes.
Yes, I think that's really important. I was a little sad that they cut that out of the theatrical, but all I care about now is what I have on Blu-ray. It's the extended unrated cut, and it's perfect. It's perfect.
That's good. Good.
Any other character? We didn't talk about Olivia hardly at all. I feel so bad for Olivia. That part where she's like, I'm giving her the care she'd get at a hospital. Like, you know, she's doing her best to be the strong friend, to be welcoming to David, to be that peace bringer between Eric and David. She's also the one responsible for injecting shots and stuff. She's got a lot of pressure on her. She is one of the first ones to be kind of, you know, dismissed from the movie after she's a Deadite. But I've always really liked Jessica Lucas. She was in Cloverfield. She was in The Covenant, which is a witchy guilty pleasure of mine, and Amusement.
Yeah, Cloverfield also celebrating an anniversary this year.
That's
definitely.
true.
Yeah.
I wanted to share a clip, but I don't think I can get away with it on YouTube. I think her Deadite reveal was one of the coolest in the film.
Yeah, that's the one.
Do the vomiting scene. Do you have that clip?
The what?
Do the vomits. Do you have that clip?
I don't have that though. Jane Levy said that even though she went through hell for this movie, that was the scene she hated the most because
I can imagine.
If you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I don't think I can get away with showing it, so I don't have a clip of it. But she stands over Jessica Lucas and she drowns her in fake bloody vomit. And afterwards, I guess she had to go to the corner and cry because she felt so terrible. And Jessica Lucas was like, "No, it's good, dude." It's
It
good.
was crazy to see all those bits of corn in her hair though after the throw up.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of vomit, guys. Like
it's so much. And can you imagine
so
being
much.
under that? Like it'd be feeling like you're being like waterboarded or something.
Waterboarded, yeah, without That's it, and then that reveal too of the cutting of her face. I was like, great use of sound effects there.
When
and
Eric's like, "What did you do?"
And then stabbing Eric in the eye with the needle in the face, like repetitively. Like she stabs him like 7 times in the eye and cheek, like just.
I can't help but think of Tony from half the movies. He hates eye stuff.
Through his glasses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
And I gotta say too, that's the strongest toilet I've ever seen. He literally fell on it from that, and it didn't break. That's a great craftsmanship there. That's really great.
It's just so
There's
good.
a
I mean,
good
this
hardware store nearby, guys.
Yeah.
There's
Home Depot.
nail
This
gun to
is
the
a
toilet.
cabin. This is a cabin they built from scratch. It's brand new and it looks so old and decrepit. And
Not
it's just
inviting at all. But
it looks
Cabin
nasty.
brought to you-
Oh, I'm so sorry, friend. You're like pausing. So if I cut you off, I'm sorry. You're glitching a little bit. I am trying to listen to you and stuff, but that would be why.
It's okay. I get it.
I'm sorry. I am very grateful that you're here, and I'm still having a good conversation with you.
what horror movies have taught me though is that toilet lid is like a great weapon.
Oh,
It
and
is.
True Romance,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorites.
True Romance, Saw, Evil Dead remake. Just use the toilet.
I
lid. Go
have
straight to it.
learned take the killer to the bathroom and hit them with the toilet lid. I have a little bit of trivia for you guys while our buddy is working stuff out. Want to hear something really funny, Adam?
Okay.
Adam, you look scared.
I don't know trivia. I'm always
No.
better
This is
as
just
a-
fun. This is just
You
fun.
don't have to
I'm
go
not
good,
going to quiz you, buddy. It's cool.
I'll be right
I
back.
wouldn't do
You're
this to you. I'm your buddy.
Not on the spot.
So, you know the girl who's burned at the stake at the beginning?
Ooh.
Guess what
Lord.
the actress is named?
Ash.
Phoenix Connolly.
Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix. Connolly, there we go. That's
Though
great.
Ash would be good too.
That would be good too, but that's funny, right? Oh my
Phoenix.
god, I love his
Phoenix.
8-bit Jason mask. I'm
Oh
so sad
yeah,
about
I'm
him.
jealous of that one.
That's so
I have some good
cool.
NECA Jason masks.
I
but
wouldn't
don't
be
have that one.
surprised if he made that himself. He's really
I got Roy's and then part 4. That's
There you go.
still on my need to get list.
sad about his internet issue. I'm going to show you guys another clip. So we talked about the hell. Jane Levy, it's so bad because she's trying so hard to be a good sport. And Fanny Alvarez says repeatedly she's a trooper, she's a good sport. But she would say on these video diaries, she's like, I had a meltdown and I would went off to the corner and cried. Like, this is a lot. It's emotionally a lot. It's physically a lot. This was 2 months. 1 month in New Zealand, 1 month on set in America. She went through flipping hell. She went through fire. Here's one of the things she had to do where I would have, if I were an actress, I would have noped out of this just because I'm claustrophobic.
Nope.
Oh, hell no. They constructed that little tunnel for her. I'm way too claustrophobic.
If I find a hole, I'm gonna hide in it.
Another one I want to show you. It's really edited, so this is not exactly from the movie. So if you haven't seen it, it's cut around any actual chainsaw to face clips because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm probably going to get in trouble anyway for the blood, but I'm trying here. I'm trying. This movie has the award that was previously held by Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead, for the most gallons of blood in a movie. They used 70,000 gallons of blood in this movie. In this final scene, I'm going to show you a clip of. They used 50,000 gallons of blood just for this. And it sounds silly because we can make fake blood at home cheap, but when you're making gallons and gallons of it, it gets expensive. A good quarter of their budget went towards fake blood. Poor Jane Lee, because it's freezing cold. In breaks from this, she'd have to run over to the corner and they would give her like a hot hose down. But here's a little clip of the massive amount of blood used in the finale.
I will feast on your soul. Feast on this motherfucker.
Look at that blood.
Awesome.
Thanks for showing that.
I love it.
I have to know what your shirt says, Adam. It's Papa something.
Oh, it's nothing too crazy. It's Papa Bear.
Oh,
It's
that's okay. I have a
I
Mama
get it.
Bear one.
Yeah, you got a
That's
mama
so
bear.
cute.
That's what we got when we did our our little baby reveal when our
That's so cute.
miracle baby came.
I used to teach in China. Well, I taught online to children in China. And one of my students, her mom, she's like, I'm a tiger mom. I'm like, I need to be more like you. You're like a kitten mom. I'm like, girl, I'm not a kitten mom. I'm a mama bear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's on your shirt, Zach?
Oh, it's actually something I drew.
Oh, that's his art. That's his art. Guys, look at this. This is his art.
Little mermaid.
That's advertising.
It's a crossover of The Little Mermaid and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Anybody's
That
in
is, my son is a massive fan
Lols
of JoJo.
loves JoJo.
He also,
Yeah.
Zach likes Danganronpa, which Lols loves. That's how we got to talking.
And Zach met Lols, right?
Guys, I'm not kidding. Check out his links in the description. Like, he does
Please
commissions.
do.
He does commissions. You can get him to personalize art for you. And
Yeah,
you know
and I'll
what?
plug that at the end.
As somebody who has partaken from his commissions, he is very reasonably priced for very high quality work.
I've heard a lot about Zach. Glad to meet you.
Thank you.
I speak your
No,
praises.
it's good to
Sarah.
meet you.
I'm a very big fan of both these men. I love Adam's podcast. I'm a big fan. I don't invite people here unless I'm a big
No,
fan.
Adam rules.
I'm
been
a
here for a
repeat
while.
invite. So that's good.
Exactly. No, all these movies up the blood. Like the first one, they did what they could. Like they had the pipe break and all the blood, and like Ash when he killed his girlfriend and all the blood on him. Like that's just how they did it. They had the light bulb explode with blood and like the projector get covered with blood. The second movie, when he's shooting the wall to kind of kill his hand, all that blood goes out of him, and then like they reverse footage it all back in. And then the third movie where like they have the gory pit and the one guy gets pushed into there and you hear him go, and then like this geyser of blood comes out. Like that movie might have the least amount like throughout the movie, but that scene alone upped the blood, just the one geyser split.
And as I explained last week, that's where all of you are.
Yeah.
In the gory hole.
And then this movie ups the blood with the rain and the chainsaw and stuff. And then, I'm not going to spoil it how, but Dead Rise, they take back their record. Because
They lost it to It Chapter 2, and they were like, yeah, hold my beer. Let's get some blood.
we're going to get our
Yeah,
record back.
You had a bathroom stall. We got I'm not gonna say it. It's
Exactly. You know what? Yeah. Our
I had a big smile on my face.
And a
That's
lot
all
of
I can
people
say.
think, well, wouldn't The Shining have that record? No, because they
Shining
wasn't.
actually didn't have that much. Dead Alive had it.
Yeah, I know, but The Shining, it's because that elevator, it wasn't tiny, but it was still smaller than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
then
wasn't
they
like
made it
an
look-
actual elevator.
Yeah, it wasn't a full size.
It was
elevator.
a lot. I believe it was 30,000. Please don't quote me on that because I don't have the information in front of me. But it was a lot, but just not a lot compared to movies like Dead Alive and Evil Dead.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't full scale. So I mean, it wasn't small either, but that's the reason why The Shining didn't have the record.
The Shining
At
is
one point in
amazing.
time, it did though before Dead Alive.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, so we talked about how they use CGI to remove wires and stuff and fire, but mostly this is all practical. So when you see a lot of the stuff in this, it's really impressive. The Blu-ray does a good job of showing you kind of how they did some of this, but it's impressive. They don't reveal everything. I think is incredible. I also just think the visuals in this movie are amazing. The cinematography was by Aaron Morton, who I think just did a wonderful job. Like how the camera moves, it's so much a tribute to how Sam Raimi moved the camera.
Mm-hmm. Definitely one of a really good visually put together movie from him. I'm trying to go back. I'm gonna go look at his what he used to do. So I'm gonna take a look at that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to, if you want to fill in for us on some information on that, that'd be wonderful. Also, this is the first Evil Dead movie that was shot in traditional widescreen and shot digitally. Everything else was shot in film. Yeah. Do you have you're looking up about the cinematographer, right? What else has he done?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up real quick.
I'll give you a minute.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say about like the visuals or the special effects, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw the movie, they say, "Oh, it's gonna rain blood. It's gonna rain blood." I 100% was not expecting it to literally rain blood.
Yeah,
a lot of movies hype themselves up, and you don't get what they promise. And it sounds metaphorical. You don't think it's actually gonna happen. That whole final scene with the chainsaw and the raining blood, the hand getting ripped off. That was some of the best special effects I've seen up to that point.
beautiful.
Chef's kiss to all that, man.
Yeah, very well.
I've never seen a movie literally rain blood before, so
it's incredible. Like it saw Magnolia's Rain Frogs, and I was like, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, when I was sharing this on Instagram stories, the stream, I used the Slayer song "Raining Blood" because I mean that's just how it is.
It's good.
Danny taught me how to do stories on Instagram today.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say other effects I really like were the splitting tongue. I think that's probably my favorite
I love that
scene. As much as it grossed me out, I always find it impressive when they can do like moving blisters and stuff like that. Really good effects.
I really like when Natalie cuts off her arm. It's so impressive because it's all done in camera. It's all done in one take. So you're just like, wait. When did that stop being her arm? And it was never even her arm. It was an actress behind her. Like, it's so impressive. I guess even when Fede Alvarez showed the script to his special effects people, are like, how are we going to do this? And he's like, oh, we'll figure it out.
It's like in Army of Darkness when they had the flying demon, but her arms were actually in the wings, and then like the fake arms were holding Sheila. For this, it's like she has a fake arm, but it's actually another actress with her arm through that, and there's like this part in between that's fake. Like her shoulder and the other actress's arm is fake, and she's literally cutting through it. That's so much better than like CGI and stuff.
That's
it's like
crazy.
I'm glad that they use CGI to cover up wires and just other little things like open up of Olivia's mouth where you could kind of see the teeth inside.
Yeah.
They just blacked it out. They also blacked off Natalie's arms and like just a little bit of CGI just to get rid of anything that was showing up on the footage.
Well, and little things like the abomination's eyes.
Exactly.
I got hair stuck in my ear.
Little things. And that's what CGI is good for. I'm glad that it exists. It is a great tool that all people should use in its sense. But
it's a tool. It's not a crutch.
Yeah, and so many movies just rely on it. Like, and so many franchises have gone down that route, as we've talked about, where I'm glad that practical is still dominating.
Yeah, we do get some information on Aaron Morton if you're ready for it.
I would love that. Really quick, I want to tell you guys we're going to be wrapping up here in a little bit, and we're going to talk about some stuff with the score and stuff. So if you have any questions, please get them in now. We're going to do a Q&A here at the end. Also, I want to say hi to Connie Cleary. It's always nice to see you here in the Gory Hole. But yes, Adam, thank you so much for researching that for me. I really appreciate it.
This is very interesting. One of his first. He's done primarily a lot of shorts before 2013. One of his big credits was the Xena Warrior Princess video game in 1999. He also did a episode of the TV show in 2001. Pretty much a lot of short films and short episodes. And Spartacus was his big break. He did 3 episodes in 2011. And then you got Evil Dead. So pretty much a lot of like mostly TV shows and shorts. Then you get this big movie with Evil Dead. And then since then he's done like Black Mirror, Bandersnatch. And then his biggest thing other than Evil Dead, I would probably say would be Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power for Amazon. He did 4 episodes of that as well.
Most people will probably argue that is his biggest thing, but as horror fans, we're gonna say Evil Dead.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, not a whole lot of stuff. I guess he's done like a couple movies, but like the Black Mirror stuff like that. And I guess he did this one HBO Spontaneous. I really don't know much about, but really,
is that the one where the kids' heads blow up? Because that was awesome.
I don't think that's that. It's not a horror film. I don't think this is it. No, it's not. It's a drama. Well, actually, no, this is a horror film too. Catherine Langford and
Yeah,
Charlie
it is.
Kaufman?
They just spontaneously explode.
These
there you
kids,
go.
for no apparent reason, their heads blow up.
Not just their heads,
And
like their whole bodies. Boom.
yeah, they spontaneously combust, and she meets this guy she really likes, and it's kind of like, if you thought today could be your last day, how do you live?
Well,
That
then
came
there
out
we
during the
go.
pandemic, so it was like the timing. Like, I hate to say that the pandemic was ever good for anything.
My favorite part of that is when her parents were like, normally you tell your kids we had it so much harder, but no, you got it harder.
And even if it was the video game, the whole Xena connection is probably how he got with Raimi, because that was Raimi and.
Actually, how he got with Raimi is he did that short. Fede Alvarez did that short, and he brought a lot of people with him. So a lot of these people, Fede Alvarez.
That was probably good for the resume, though, because Xena was a big Raimi project.
But one of the things that short is it got the attention of Steven Spielberg, so that got everybody's heads turned.
Oh yeah, with Fede, yeah, he was in talks with that with Spielberg as well.
So before we wrap it up, one of the things I want to talk about, I think all of these movies have an area where they are the best, and this movie has a few. I think it's got the best character arcs. I think it's the scariest. I also think this movie, and it's close. It's so close. I love Joe DeLuca's scores from 1 through 3. I think this one has the best score. It's so good.
Elfman and Army and Darkness, but I'm not going to disagree with you.
Elfman only does the March of the Dead, though.
But
Joe DeLuca does the rest.
DeLuca and Elfman as a team is what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know. Like, it's somewhere in between this and Army and Darkness for me.
Roque Banos did this, and guys, that air raid siren that he uses in the score, like, there's something about it that just instantly you're alerted. I think it's just human nature. We're used to knowing that that's a bad thing.
She's reaching for the chainsaw. You hear the air raid. She's got to rip what's left of her arm off. Like, it's just like, so good.
It's so bad. And then there's that really pretty main theme, that dun dun dun. I can't obviously play it because YouTube and music, but that dun 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 dun. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. It's just really pretty, but it's also creepy.
And I love how, I'll swallow your soul, swallow this, boom, shotgun. But then, I'll feed on your soul, and I'll feed on this, and chainsaw, feast on this. It's just, so close, but its own little flavor.
It's just beautiful and creepy and unnerving. And honestly, of all the scores, and I do like them a lot, I do 1 through 3, I listen to a lot, but I do think I listen to this one the most. I play this a lot when I'm doing writing or editing a video. It's just really cool and creepy and just really sets a mood.
Yeah, it definitely has a vibe to it that I probably have to pay attention. I think go back and just listen to the scores specifically, because it's something that you notice, but you're kind of totally engrossed in the overall experience of it. I honestly don't really pay attention too much. I just kind of, it's part of the film. It's not just like its own entity. I need to maybe pay attention. Do a better job paying attention on that part.
Listen to the credits or even the opening scene where they have that air raid siren. That's where I first noticed it. That brrr, it's in the music. It's so good. But even that main credit, the main theme, the piano theme is really, really pretty. It's sad. It's creepy. It's beautiful. It's kind of almost encompasses Mia and David's relationship. It's a little of all those things.
Whenever they use any kind of siren or anything like that as part of the music, I think that it when done effectively, it's very unique feel. That's why all Quiet on the Western Front, one of the war film on Netflix, they use that kind of siren when they go through the things, and you would never feel like that would work. And I think it's effective when it's done correctly. And I think listening to the takes on Evil Dead too, I think
you can listen to the whole score on YouTube. A lot of times I don't know the score either, but something about that siren sound, I think it's just we're accustomed as humans to know that that's an alert from other humans that we're in danger, and it's so effectively used in this because immediately you're we're in danger, and you know what, you're not safe in this movie. This movie is not a comedy even remotely. It's literally punching you in the face with horror from the opening credits to the end. And it's an incredible roller coster.
Even the reason they're there is uncomfortable. It's not
exactly.
They're not on vacation. They're not there to have fun. Like in the original, it makes you uncomfortable from the word go, because it's we're here for this very serious reason.
Yeah. They're there to see the worst that somebody come out and to get them better.
Yeah.
They're prepared to see somebody at their absolute worst, and that's why they're not shocked when she starts acting, strangely.
And some people need that trigger warning that the dog dies, and you get you don't see a lot.
Just guys, any trigger warning there is,
this will give it to you.
Trees doing bad things to people. Yeah, just assume all the triggers are in this movie. This movie is about making you uncomfortable. It does not want you to feel safe. It does not want you to be happy. This movie is, if the ride you want to be on is a horror ride, you want to be thrilled, you want to be scared, you want to be uncomfortable, you want to look behind your shoulder, you want that feeling of fear, this movie delivers. It also has heart, which I think makes us care about our characters all the more.
Yeah, and as you're talking about score, I mean, I think that sad song when Ash is being sucked into the portal at the end of part 2 is like the song that like for some reason always gets stuck.
I love that one.
That's like in my head more than anything, followed by March of the Dead or whatever, by Elfman. But then I have to say, even though those are stuck in my head a little more, this one gets my adrenaline going more. Like, oh shit, like all hands on deck. This shit's getting real.
Like you guys know how they
fucking
play
siren.
certain songs at pep rallies to be like dun 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 dun. dun. That's what this song does for your fear response. It's incredible.
I feel like a lot of horror composers feel like they need to make it quiet and ambient. And I love a horror film that's not scared to be bombastic with its music.
Absolutely.
We played the scene earlier when she gets possessed, and it is just in your ear. It's loud. It's uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's in your head. You feel it.
Yeah. Especially when you see it in theaters and all the speakers are going off. It is a loud score.
If you can watch the surround sound, this is the movie to watch in surround sound.
Yeah.
I've seen every Evil Dead movie in the theaters except for the original. I wasn't old enough to see the part 2 in the theaters. Like I said, Army of Darkness was my first one, but we did go see like a cool screening that they did in Seattle at the art museum or whatever.
Yeah, in IMAX.
Yeah, IMAX.
That's cool.
Where we got to like lay down on the floor and like our we got to bring like camping equipment, so we brought like sleeping bags. We got to lay down on our sleeping bags and watch Evil Dead 2.
That sounds great.
For Adam, I'm going to play that clip you mentioned just so you can hear a little bit of it. I really kept the clips of the score in it really short because I don't want to get in trouble, but here it is.
Honda.
You don't get to hear a lot of it, but even that scene, I think they effectively used silence, which was cool because they play the score up until that point. I really try to skirt around
somebody
the score.
just running a bow across the violin, just destroying it.
It's so good though. It's like screeching violins, it's sirens, it's all the things. It's so good.
Very bombastic, very in your face, not subtle, not ambient. Just feel this.
But also pretty at times, which is cool.
This is a little off
like when she's sitting on the car.
But speaking of in your face, I love how Mia, she like actually when they were filming those things chasing her on the zip line, Jane Levy, yeah, the camera would come chasing at her, and like she would wait to the last second to jump across the like out of the frame, like go across around the tree because it'd come right at her and it almost hit her, and like the producers were like, "You can't do that. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself."
She did get hit by the camera.
Yeah.
I'm gonna excuse myself to little Gory's room. Guys, get your questions in. You boys have some man time and talk about this movie. I'll be right back.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that about Jane Levy. She was like, I'm gonna play it dangerously. Like, cause like she got hit by the camera because they would literally chase her on these zip lines, like zip line cameras. And she like
sounds
wait till the last
terrifying.
second.
Cameras are heavy.
Yeah, she's like, she does her best Austin Powers impression. I also like to live dangerously.
Exactly. And
So,
I love about the original is like they like nailed fucking cameras to a board and they ran and they did like put them on trucks and they had Ash spinning around and stuff like that on a real truck, being very dangerous. This movie has that budget, but they still wanted to keep that tradition. Like, yes, they have more money for zip lines and stuff, but they still wanted a real camera like flying at you and stuff. And I love that about this. Oh, you're back quick.
Yeah, dude, I've trained my bladder to like be at movie theater speed so I don't miss more than like a few seconds.
I have to go in
and
there
I still wash my hands.
I'm like doing a whole exorcist thing in there when I'm doing it. It takes forever.
All right. So anything else you guys want to say about the movie before we get to our Q&A?
No, I'm pretty good.
I mean, it's how you do a remake. Try and make a different movie. Not too many callbacks. I think you mentioned this before that like people say lines, but it doesn't feel forced. And I think that's an art form a lot of remakes need to master. I know whenever I watch a newer Predator movie, with the exception of Prey, that always takes me out of it because they will force in every Arnold Schwarzenegger line into the entire movie, and it just feels like they were told they had to say it, like they have a gun to their head.
Yeah, I agree. I think in this one it's so subtle. They're like the one I mentioned earlier from Eric. I only noticed this time just because I was rewatching the whole series. So I like that. I like that it's subtle. It's kind of fun if you've watched the movies a lot, but it's not like, Okay, now everyone be quiet because we're gonna do the trailer line.
And
Yeah.
they couldn't like get anybody organically to say groovy, so they just waited until after the credits and had Bruce Campbell say it.
Oh, I got
This is the
that for
best
you.
way
You
you could've
ready?
done
By
it.
the way, there's stingers now in the Gory B Movie show after the credits, so you're gonna hear this again later. But here you go.
Groovy.
We didn't know was like our little taste of Ash versus the Evil Dead. Which
I
gave us-
love that because
Yeah.
it's like his blessing for the movie.
Yeah,
I want to believe that's not a score. He just makes that noise when he turns his head.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love
I've
that.
met Bruce Campbell. He has his own theme music. It's
yeah.
how it is.
Every time he
True.
turns his head, it's a sting.
He wants to be smoldering, he will. Just
All
goes
right,
with
you
it.
guys ready for some questions? Zigma
Yeah.
has some good ones for us. So he says, if you became a Deadite, what would your signature scary move be?
Um,
I'm gonna go with creepy chanting. In the
Ooh,
corner, all creepified, doing crazy makeup and chanting. Ooh, and then I'm gonna do some cool ballet moves, claymation style outside. I'm hyped.
you're gonna turn into clay.
Yes. Okay, boys.
Ooh.
Mine would be buried and dismembered, but then the whole evil Ash where he just pops back up and he's all back there and he's like, haha, and I'd go haunt the real me.
Yeah,
Good one.
babe.
Go to war.
I like just like climbing on like the walls. Like they have like this like mysterious like they can climb on the walls. They can jump out and jump and just stick like kind of like a Spider-Man like power.
The new movie is
The
really
new
good
movie
with
with
that.
the shower scene.
Oh, it's
And
great.
just like other like scenes with people like you see behind them. The new movie really utilizes that. I love that about that.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. Spider Deadite.
I'm actually surprised this hasn't been done. If it's done in Rise, sorry, but like juggling parts of myself. I feel like, yeah, like I would maybe take a foot, the eyeballs, maybe a pancreas or an organ. Just start
I love
walking
this.
towards somebody while juggling them.
One thing I want to say about this,
Can't do some stupid, creepy stuff.
that's awesome. One thing I want to say about this movie, and then
Take a
like
bite.
in Rise as well, is like in the newer Deadites, they are a little more self-harming. Like when Mia licks the like X-Acto blade and like gives herself a severed tongue, like they will, and obviously Olivia cutting her face, like they are more hurt themselves.
But they're doing it to scare the pants off of the other people.
And the boiling water all comes like back to Army of Darkness, where he's like, want some hot
Well,
chocolate,
yeah.
and he pours it down his throat to
That's
kill the
Mia
evil.
trying to kill the evil. That's
Yeah.
different.
Well, I mean, he swallowed an evil little version of him, and he was like trying to boil it.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
I do too.
It's all good.
Are you guys ready for another question?
Let's do it.
This one comes from Michael Joe. Would you like to see Ash be played by someone that's not Bruce Campbell? I don't think anyone can top him.
No, my answer is
No.
strong no.
I-
Hard pass.
It's negative because unfortunately, if they tried, it'd be Chris Pratt. Probably that's unfortunate.
I was gonna say
Mario.
that it's definitely gonna be Chris Pratt. He seems
don't
to
want-
be everybody now.
We don't want to do that. Yeah.
I
don't
think Sam Raimi's point that he's been trying to make is that you can make the Evil Dead without Ash, so there's no reason to replace him.
Correct.
He
Raimi,
doesn't need to be in the movie, and if he is in the movie, it's got to be Bruce Campbell, which Bruce Campbell's done from the sound of it, or which I get. It's a very taxing.
I think he might come back. They're
Probably,
talking about another
but-
movie.
Raimi straight up
He's
said
been-
that there's no reason they can't both exist. You can
Yeah.
have like without Ash, and you can have with Ash, and they can both exist and be great because they are both great.
As long as the book's
Yeah.
there, it can be anybody anywhere. And I think it's interesting to see how other people respond to this situation, which is really scary. I do love Ash though, and I want the series to continue to at least acknowledge him. How this remake has.
And
I
I want
wanna
to say,
see her
Michael
on,
Joe, give our best to Bobby Joe. I'm sure she's out in the woods somewhere. We haven't ever
Oh.
found her.
I want to see it on a cruise ship now.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Ooh, that's a good question. So where do you want to see Evil Dead go next? It's left the cabin. We've hit a high-rise apartment. Where does it go next?
It's got to be a cruise ship. I think
Space.
that would be.
I love that. Like
No.
Speed 2. What
It's
about
got to
you,
be
Zach? What do you
space
think?
eventually.
What?
Space
It's
is
gonna be
Space?
space.
I love it. You know what? A lot of my favorite movies go to space.
I'm
so
not saying
love
I
it.
want that. I'm just saying that's where things go.
I'm all about this life.
Side note, I'm surprised Nightmare on Elm Street never went in space because you have a tagline right there. They can't hear you dream in space. I'm just surprised they never went there.
Surprised Texas Chainsaw Massacre hasn't.
Working on it.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, that's the tagline
Right?
I'm using. I'm working on it.
Gotta have
Greatest
those
sequel to part
taglines.
2.
That's
Where do you
what
want
horror
your-
is sometimes. If it makes a good tagline, you're gonna make the movie.
Exactly. NASA, we have a problem.
Uh,
Where do I want it to go? Hell itself.
Yeah,
'cause
like
the show has
there.
gone a lot of places. Actually, the show has been in town. It's been out of town. It's been like all kinds of places.
Ash's
Trailer park at
hometown.
work. Yeah. I want to actually see like when he says in this movie. Well, first, it's very uncomfortable that she tells her brother, "Hey, pretty boy, come down here and I'll suck your." But then later on, she's like, "Your sister's being, in hell," and like, I kind of want to see the Deadites in hell. Like, I kind of want to see more of a glimpse of where they're coming from, like the hellmouth of sense and like
They're like sitting around a poker table all playing. Like, oh, somebody read the
Yeah,
book.
and someone opened the book, right?
I'll be back.
Like, I want to
Maybe.
see a little more in hell. Like, I don't want the whole movie
Yeah.
necessarily to take place there. I just want to see a little more of the Deadites crossing over
can-
from their world to ours.
If they can do it and keep them mysterious, I don't want too many answers.
I don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Of answers. I just want to see them crossing over, like whatever. I don't need to know all about hell. I just want to know a little.
We don't
bit
need
about
the
this.
Ridley.
So my answer
Ridley-
is I want to see Evil Dead in the future. That was the plan after Army of Darkness. The original ending is Ash sleeps too long. He's in the future. They're going to have him fighting like robot Deadites. And even the TV series ended
They
with
did
the
it twice.
future. So
Mhm.
I would like to see that. I think it's something that's been teased for a long time. I want to see it happen.
Yeah, let's finally get there. Like both things have like led up to it. Let's see what happens. I agree.
And that ties into Zigma's next question because he's full of questions today. Adam, this is for everybody, so Zach and Danny too. How would you feel if we had a Space Jam spinoff where Ash puts a baseball team together versus a team of Deadites? Sigma, I don't
Okay.
understand your brain, but I love
So
it.
what we'll have to do is you need to get Nev Campbell to be on a Sydney. You need to bring. I'm going to be weird about this. I saw
love
this
it.
question pop up. You have to bring up Elijah Wood from The Faculty. We're going to bring that character back.
Such a
Um,
random pull.
It's just I love it's
Final
celebrating an
characters.
anniversary. I love The Faculty. That's my movie right there.
I love it too.
Survivor characters.
Yeah, Devin Sawyer, not from Final Destination, but you
Idle
can bring him
Hand.
from Idle Hands. Yes, that's
Hey,
the
you and
one.
Ash have something in common.
There we
He's
go.
doing the anniversaries. It's good. I love it.
I didn't research any of this at all. I just planned out my whole year. But anyway, you have to bring a bunch of random like characters that are from different horror franchises all in one. It's going to be a lot of money, but if we're doing it, we got to make it go big. So
All right, I like your idea. I want to go off of that. The Necronomicon is the playbook, and it says if you read it, they will come. And I mean, do we have to do baseball? Can we do basketball?
there we go.
Niche upon niche. Connie wants to see Evil Dead hit the Everglades. I think we need some Deadeye alligators.
good.
Is what I think.
And whatever team wins has to date Squeak. So
Oh yeah, there you go. Squeak, they'll swallow Squeak's soul. They'll swallow him. whole.
Who's on your Space Jam team, Zach?
My Space Jam. The Looney Tunes. Well, that's the thing. Is
Yo, of course, you're the cartoon guy.
when it says Space Jam, I'm thinking Looney Tunes. So what I think the plot is that they need help with baseball, but they just grab Bruce Campbell for some reason. Maybe his name sounds like a baseball player. It's the
It
only
does,
thing I
actually.
can imagine. Yeah. So I
Bruce
think-
Campbell instead of like the whatever basketball star or baseball star. I love
yeah,
it.
whatever star they have. And it's basically the same plot as the first movie. I didn't see the second one. I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah, it is baseball. That's what Zigma said.
basically it was like a cash grab of all the Warner Brothers properties.
I heard that they just have like a bunch of cosplayers like standing in the audience. Is what it was.
Since it's Warner Brothers, I'm gonna go with some Looney Tunes, but I'm gonna go specifically with the Looney Tune Funkos they just released for the 50th anniversary, where they have Bugs Bunny
the
dressed as Fred
Scooby?
Jones, Velma dressed as a naked Tweety Bird, weird, Lola Bunny as Daphne, Tasmanian Devil as Scooby, and Daffy Duck as Shaggy. I want them together with Buffy because Buffy and Bruce Campbell.
There we go.
I wanna-
I like that. That's it.
I want to play up the bit that Daffy Duck reads the he reads the Necronomicon because he's just he's doing a bit.
I
The
feel like
Looney Tunes are always
Sylvester
doing a
needs
bit.
to.
They're always doing a bit.
Well,
And for some reason, Daffy takes it too far, and he pulls out the Necronomicon to do a little thing, and that summons Deadites instead of cartoonish aliens, and that's why they have to play this.
Yeah, so maybe that's why they get Bruce Campbell because they're
Yeah.
What
like,
about
"We-
Sylvester
we
though?
saw his
Like you know,
movies."
with all the spit and everything, and spit hitting the
I
book of
want
the
to see
dead.
Deadeye Daffy more than anything.
I
else.
kind of love that because he's already kind of a deadite, right?
And Granny.
He's a
I want to see
dick.
Granny as a
I don't
Deadite
know if he's a
too.
Deadeye.
You already did at the beginning of this movie. Stop complaining.
I know, but I just want to see her drawn that way. And then
I'm
Tweety
not
be like,
bad.
I thought Deadite. I did.
Did we just make a movie, guys?
Yeah, we need to get in touch with Warner
You're welcome,
Brothers.
Hollywood.
You're welcome, Hollywood. This team here making awesome movies. You're welcome.
Deadeye Gossamer.
Oh,
What
Deadeye
happened?
Gossamer, Zach!
Deadeye Gossamer.
Zach, draw that. Draw that.
If anybody wants
Bugs
Deadeye
is like,
Gossamer,
we need your
the
help,
commissions are
Bugs,
down
because
below.
like some of the Looney Tunes are actually turning into Deadites.
I would love to actually see you draw your Deadeye Space Jam team. If you have some free time, that's something I'd love to see
Do
as a
that.
fan.
Draw
Hey, you
Bugs
can always
Bunny wearing
commission it.
like a blue shirt with no hand.
Yeah. Well, Gossamer already has gross nails, so
Yeah.
Yeah. You
There
know
you
Gossamer, the big red guy.
Yeah, I know.
furry.
Yeah.
All right, so Michael Joe's got another question for us. We got one more question, and then we're gonna call it a night. Do you? Well, he says I think Match Williams.
Match Williams.
English is my first
My
language.
new OC.
He thinks Michael Myers can win against Ash Williams. Do you?
No. No.
I want to
Well,
hear your thoughts on this first, but I'll share mine when you guys are done.
I
Ash Hit
mean,
a chainsaw.
yeah, Ash goes head first. He's gonna assume this guy's a Deadeye, and he's gonna go head first. Like, I mean, what Ash are we talking about? Like, if we're talking like Ash
Any
versus
Ash.
Evil Dead, he's dispatched so many, and he knows if somebody comes at him with a tent, he's just gonna take their head off.
He's shallow. He's like very up there with his language, but he's also there with his actions. Like he's like, no, get an axe. Like he'll tell people, like, no, like as much
Yeah.
as he was so hesitant in that first movie, but he's gone through so much
Yeah.
shit to where he's
Michael
like,
comes at him with a knife. That's it. He's gonna lop his head right off. Maybe a few limbs. What's Michael's canon death? He gets his wrist slit and his neck slit. Like it's with
And
kitchen
then the meat
knives.
grinder.
Like, yeah. Well, maybe he was dead before that. I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean that's the way we know he doesn't come back. It's like
How-
they put him in a big fucking trash.
I want to
grinder.
talk
Yes.
about that. Like, were you guys waiting for a hand to grab Lori? Like in that
A
scene?
little bit, a little bit.
I was like a little bit. I was like, why are they like? Because it's so overdone and long. I'm like, something's gonna happen. Like a hand's gonna. Why
The
is she
Carrie
standing
ending,
there?
which we have in this movie too, when the abomination reaches up.
Well, even Death Battle had Michael Myers versus Jason Voorhees, and they straight up said, yes, it wasn't technically him in the end of H2O that like got his head cut off, but he switched bodies with someone because he couldn't survive that. And that's why Jason won that death battle. He would not survive a decapitation. Ash is gonna blow his head off or cut it off with a chainsaw.
Yeah. Again, I mean, he's gonna assume Deadeye. I assume this quiet guy is walking towards him with a kitchen knife drawn. I mean,
I would be more interested in seeing Ash Williams go against the Hellraiser crew.
or against
That's-
Jason.
I would agree with
I
that.
think that's cool. I don't think the Michael Myers really has a chance just because
He's a
Ash
guy.
has this uncanny ability to survive any situation he's in, even when he makes every mistake available to him. It's like he's got a 4-leaf clover up his butt. He can make every mistake. He can say the wrong words. He can
Ooh.
trip. He can fall. He can lose his hand. He keeps coming back.
Ash
He's like the
versus
Muhammad
Leprechaun.
Ali of final people. You can knock him down, but he's going to get right back up again. So Michael Myers has been taken down a lot. I
Very
think Ash has
easily.
got this
Yeah.
battle.
I think Michael Myers won one movie out of all of his movies. He won
Yeah.
one of them. That was Halloween Kills. The only
You
one he
said-
wins.
You said clother. I'm thinking Ash versus Leprechaun.
That would be more interesting. I would actually
Be a
like.
bunch of bad
That's
one-liners.
actually a good one. That's a good one.
We talked about that on your stream like last week, where I wanted to like they were talking about where we wanted to cross over. And I said Leprechaun just because David Warwick and Bruce Campbell. on
David
screen-
Warwick?
Warwick Davis. I don't know why I did it backwards. I have dyslexia. But anyway,
The
Warwick
underrated,
Davis and
yeah, David
yeah.
Warwick, yeah.
Bruce Campbell like on screen together would be amazing. Just the banter alone would be awesome.
Yeah.
And
the corniness.
One-liners.
The reason why
Yeah,
he can't
don't
Myers
stop.
has no chance is Ash has already beat Freddy and Jason together in the comics. So there you go.
He had help.
Yeah, oh yeah, he had the survivors from theirs, but they teamed up. In the first run, it was all three against all three, and then like they teamed up, and then he teamed up with the survivors. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
And we got one last question for the night, and we're going to call it a night. Zig wants to know, do you think we'll have a Rise versus Army of Darkness? So I think he's saying, are we going to see our remake movies? Like we've got Mia from this movie. We've got the Rise, we're not going to say who survives, but anybody from Rise going against the last time we saw Ash in Army of Darkness, or even Ash versus Evil Dead. Do we see Ash coming back in and merging with these new characters?
I think it's a strong possibility. I
There's
don't know
like
for
a-
sure.
I mean,
Strong possibility.
that was the plan with Mia. And I with how popular it is again, and I'm sure Jane Levy's up for it as long as there's less blood involved. I think I want to see
Eddie
Mia.
Alvarez isn't doing it because I don't know the details, but they did have a falling out
Yeah.
after Don't Breathe.
Okay, I do want to see Mia and Ash bounce off each other. I would
would
also like to see characters from Ash versus Evil Dead. I feel like Kelly had so much potential as a character.
Oh,
I
Dana De
love
La
her
Rezo is
so
so
much.
amazing. We met her, she's
Yeah.
great.
It
Pablo
almost
too. I'd like to see
Yeah.
all of them like back.
it
I would
almost
like.
felt like they could continue it with her if Bruce decided to stop. Like she has a lot of Ash-like qualities. She even takes crotch shots, which is fun. It's rare to see a woman
The
take
Blood
crotch shots in a horror
Sisters.
franchise.
Ash and the Blood Sisters.
Exactly.
But
like-
Yeah, I think there's some sort of crossover down the line. I can't say exactly what it will be and who will be involved, but I
put
think
Kelly in it.
they will merge. That's my answer to the question. I have a
Yeah.
question though.
Well, hold on. Let Adam answer that one.
Oh,
too.
Oh.
yeah, sorry.
Well, Mia and whoever survived Rise and Bruce. I think that would be kind of interesting. It gives you that kind of vibe for like all the Jigsaw survivors
Yeah, that was
go
a
up
fun
in
fight.
one and go up against the Deadites again. I think that would be that'd be a dream team right there. Think that would be a big moment. It'd be really fun.
There is some hope that that might happen, just because Sam Raimi tweeted, or he texted Bruce Campbell, who he tweeted on Twitter, that he sent him a picture of Ash photoshopped with Jane Levy's Mia together, and he said, "Get to the gym,
Get your fat ass.
get your fat ass to the gym." So I think he really wants to make that happen, and I think the characters in Evil Dead Rise are so cool. I can't see them not being a part of anything new that's coming down the pipeline.
Plus, even if it's not 100% live action, Bruce Campbell, before he even tweeted that, like right before he tweeted that, he tweeted and was talking about it on like a convention, like one of his Bruce Fesses, BruceCon or whatever he does, Bruce Oramas. He was talking about how he might have aged poorly, but they do have plans for animated Evil Dead, and he's like, luckily my voice has not aged that poorly.
Yeah.
Poorly.
I love that.
I know.
Poorly.
I mean,
Hey, he
we're
just needs to
very
be
early
doing-
with it.
Bruce Campbell just needs to be doing better stuff than being a vendor of pizza balls from Doctor Strange.
That was lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be doing better stuff.
It
It's
was
like this
funny,
movie's
but-
a Hallmark movie. Let's get him back into horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
At least make
Connie
him a
wants
Doctor
to see
Strange. Come
Ash
on.
versus Leatherface. Also, man, thank you so much for just your continued support and for watching the streams. I really love seeing you here.
They talked about an Ash versus Leatherface when they did Freddy versus Jason, because they were like, oh, let's do all these movies. And they're like really quickly shot down, like, we can't get the rights to those people. But they were like, when they were going off about it, he was like, yeah, I wanted to do Ash versus Leatherface in a Texas Chainsaw death match.
You can do it in that video game. They've got Ash and Leatherface. So,
I gotta say that doesn't feel like much of a fight. Like
So what was your
No, it
question?
doesn't. Ash
And then
would
we'll
win.
call it a night.
My favorite question, or not my favorite question. My question.
your
is-
favorite question.
Which,
To be favorite.
no, it's not. My
Isn't he
question,
precious?
you always do a question, which I'm hoping you'll follow up because you always do that one on these streams. But
Oh,
my-
you're right. You're right.
But before we do that, I want to know what your guys' top 5 remakes are.
Oh, can I think of
Top
five?
5
Question.
remakes.
Just horror or in general?
They don't have to be in specific order. Just name 5 remakes. You
Hey,
really love
Ben Grimm.
of horror. Yes, 5 remakes of horror that you really love.
Okay, just horror. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I gotta think of it. I can only think of 2 right now.
I'm gonna go The Fly, The Thing, Dawn of the Dead. Does The Ring count?
Yeah, it's a
The
remake.
Ring
American
and Evil Dead.
I'm gonna go The Fly, The Thing, Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, what was my 5th one?
Oh yeah, I was thinking this. The new one.
yeah, I got it.
No, no,
Dawn-
like
Oh, go ahead.
not the newest thing, the actual thing.
No, Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, John Carpenter's the thing.
No, I was thinking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So they had a new Texas Chainsaw
No.
Massacre.
Oh no, the one that came out in 2003.
Yeah, I'm on board.
I have to rethink my 5th one because I forgot it right now.
Sorry.
That's all right. Go on.
I would definitely do Evil Dead. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
That was on mine too. I love that one.
Oh, that's my yeah, okay.
I love that one.
My fifth one is just Night of the Living Dead. I like that one. I love the
Tom
remake.
Savini's.
Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead. That was my fifth.
Yeah,
But
the
Day of the
Ring
Dead
of
is
the
Dawn of the Dead's amazing too.
Yeah, I also like Ring of the Ring. Invisible Man's pretty good with
Mhm.
Moss. Well, the other ones I think of is My Bloody Valentine, but it's not necessarily it should be a top 5. It's a good remake.
It's a tough one. You know what, Adam? I
tough
challenge you to make a video on this and make Danny answer
Oh
this question.
god, okay, there we go.
Bring him on
But
your show.
the Fly actually is really great. I love both
Yeah,
versions. I
Fly's
think
good.
I love the original. Too.
Goldblum's. I love the original. The original's a top 100 movie for me. So,
Me too.
but Jeff, because we can't put our deal for doing our top 100 for our website was you can't have multiple entries from, or like you can't have like both entries of a remake. Like I can't have the Goldblum remake with the Vincent Price original. So I picked the Vincent Price.
Yeah,
better,
I love that Vincent Price original. It's so
yeah, it's
good.
great. But yeah, The Fly will probably be my number 5th one for sure. But that's a great video idea. I might save that for October.
Do
That's
it.
a-
You know, you can always call us.
Well, yeah, you'll be getting a message soon. I have a couple more horror anniversaries I need to talk about. So
That's so cool. What about you, Zach?
I'm having a hard time thinking of 5, so I'm looking at a list. But there are 3: Evil Dead,
Three's good.
3's fine.
Friday the 13th.
I love that one.
I think it's just it. I know people hold that series near and dear, but those first 3 movies, kind of a slog sometimes. And I feel like the remake does a really good job of taking those
First
3
4
movies.
kind of condensed.
Yeah,
it.
and just condensing it together.
Karalecki's character's like the guy looking for
It's so
assistance.
streamlined. And then Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, nice.
Oh, all of them are good. I love the original 50s one. I love the 70s one, which is my favorite. And I love the 90s one. God, they're so. I even love Invasion with Nicole Kidman. I'm going to have to do a whole Body Snatchers month because they are all good.
because you can throw so many different subgenres of that too, like the pay homage, like The Thing plays The Faculty. We brought that
I
up.
love the Faculty. Yes.
There's so many movies that play off that same premise that plays the homage
Let
to
me
it
a Body
too.
Snatcher movie, dude. I don't know what it is about it, but I love them. But
They're
Faculty is
great.
probably one of my favorites. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that one. That in the 70s. Good choices, both of you guys. So my final question of the night. What's your ranking order for the Evil Dead franchise?
This is tough. This
Yeah.
is really tough. Because I'm not, I didn't necessarily grow up, and I saw them all out of sequence. I think 5 movies here. I'll kick it off. The original Evil Dead will be number 5. Then I have Army of Darkness, and then I really liked Rise a lot, but I'll probably put Rise 3. But that's also probably recency bias. I grant it because I just saw it yesterday. 2 is this Evil Dead, and then Evil Dead 2 would be my favorite. But a franchise.
No wrong
There
answer.
are
though.
no wrong
wrong
answers.
I
answer.
feel like they
Franchises.
could be
All A's.
intermixed because they're all
It changes.
good quality.
Mine has changed since last week.
Oh, there we go. Oh, perfect.
I always change between 2 and 3.
That's my two that changed.
Yeah, right now I'm gonna say 2 is my number 1, just because I don't know.
Mine too.
It's hard to explain. It depends what I'm in the mood for. Am I in the mood for something more grand scale, which I believe is Army of Darkness, or am I in the mood for a more like, intimate horror film with like crazy special effects and stuff going on? So 2 right now, and then probably 3. Well, no, I would say 2 in the remake right now. I haven't seen Army of Darkness in a while, and I know a lot of people are nostalgic for it. So I would say 2, the remake, Army of Darkness, and the first one.
Yeah.
I don't have a reference for Rise, so I can go wherever right now.
Leanne says 2013's number 1 for her. So
It's a good
just to
one.
give you some basis for mine, I give a 4.5-star rating to Evil Dead 1981, Evil Dead 2, and Evil Dead 2013, and Army of Darkness. For me, they're all 4.5 stars. So they change a lot for me. I tend to put Evil Dead 2 first, because I think overall, it's the one I like the best. But then Army of Darkness and the remake switch a lot for me. Last week, when I was asked this question, I had Evil Dead, the remake, as number 2. But now I'm feeling Army of Darkness, guys. So Army of Darkness number 2, then the remake, then Evil Dead 1981, and finally Evil Dead Rise, which is nothing against that movie. I would still say that's an A movie. They're all incredible. It's really hard to pick.
So I go Evil Dead 2. It's my favorite movie in general, not just in this franchise.
We have a poster of it over our bed, guys.
It just is. It's just that
It's a good movie.
And then, like, I think Army of Darkness actually jumped up to number 2. I think I had Evil Dead 2.
Mine did too.
I think I had the original when we did this last week, but now I think Army of Darkness is my number 2 again. It was my favorite movie when I saw it when I was 9 years old and I saw it in the theater. My favorite movie until I saw Evil Dead 2. That's like, I think somewhere in there, Jurassic Park became my favorite movie, and then Evil Dead 2 became my favorite. I saw Jurassic Park in between.
I love Jurassic Park.
But Army of Darkness was my favorite movie when I saw it. Then maybe Jurassic Park, and then Evil Dead 2. And Evil Dead 2 is still my favorite movie. But I think Army of Darkness is now back to my number 2. I think Evil Dead 1 was there for a little bit, but now rewatching them again for these streams, I think Army of Darkness is shot back up there.
And for context, my favorite movie of all time is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So obviously I pick Evil Dead 2.
But
The greatest horror film.
Yes.
Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are my like soul food. Like when I'm feeling bad, like if I feel literally sick or just mentally sick,
Yeah.
they both cheer me up. Army of Darkness will make me laugh more. Evil Dead is just my favorite, like kind of like fantasy adventure. Like, oh my god, this guy's in the cabin and it's just like so cool.
Yeah.
So both
All
of them are
these
great.
movies have such a unique experience to offer you. That's why I think it's such a special franchise. Because like, if I want to scare the shit out of somebody, I'm gonna put a movie on. I'm gonna put on this remake.
And the OG
You know?
is now my number 3. It was my number 2 last week, but now it's my number 3. I give all 3 of the original trilogy just 5 stars because I think they have flaws, but they have so much stuff that like as extra credit makes up
But
for them.
yeah, like Army of Darkness is probably the most quotable movie of all time.
It is the most quotable by all far. Like
And
Ash's
just
quotes in that alone.
What they did with nothing for the 1981, all of these movies are so
Exactly.
remarkable.
That's
Even
the
Evil Dead Rise.
I love and respect the
Good
original
still
because
references.
it's so original and they had no money and they did amazing with no money. Like even the water effects in the mirror, like how did they do that with that
See,
budget?
that's the thing. When people tell me, oh, you know, you didn't like Virus Shark, well, they didn't have any money. I'm like, you know what? Evil Dead didn't have any money. Night of the Living Dead didn't have any money. Texas Chainsaw Massacre didn't have any money. If you're creative and talented enough, you can make it work.
And then this is my number 4, the remake. I love it. I still give it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. And there's no reason why, if anybody told me they gave it 5 stars, I'd be like, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you.
There is no.
It's amazing.
Leanne says this is her favorite, and I think that's a perfectly acceptable answer. Some days this is my favorite too.
This is an amazing movie. They had more benefits and stuff. Like they had like a movie to go off of.
And they still
They
tortured
also
their
had a budget.
actors.
Exactly. And it was under the right umbrella. My only reason why is like I've only seen this a handful of times since it come out, and I've watched the other ones like all the time. I've seen them hundreds of times. Where this one I've seen less than 10 times, but I've still seen it and I love it every time. And Rise is my dead last because I've seen it once, but I'm going with that bias thing that you just said, Adam, but in reverse.
Mine's the
reasoning.
opposite. Yeah, I'm like
Reverse
you.
reasoning. I've only seen
Nostalgia
it once.
bias.
I just recently saw it and I haven't quite compacted like how I feel about it. Like I love it. I still gave it 4.5 stars already. I love it as like right up here with this remake. I think they're both great for different reasons. I think a little stronger on both reasons. Time will have to tell me where it goes. I have to see it more times. I have to see how much. If I end up watching it more than this remake over and over again, then maybe it'll be higher. Right now, the remake is higher.
That performance though by the mom.
Oh, amazing!
Alyssa
She is
Sutherland is so
high.
good. I
she's-
hope you'll watch next week's. And yeah, we don't have guests for next week, so if you guys want to talk about it.
She's an amazing, iconic Deadite. So far.
If you need somebody, hit me up.
Well, you need to watch it first and see if you like it, because I don't
I'm
want you to
seeing it on
talk about how
Thursday.
much you like
Yeah.
the movie that you
Go
don't
see it
like.
and tell us what you think.
If you like it.
Yeah, I'll message you the day I see it. Also, I have a con that day, so it's a maybe. But
Yeah, that's cool.
Should be on.
But Adam, if you're interested, you're always welcome here in the Glory Hall.
I appreciate it. So
Awesome time talking to you guys. Please tell us what you guys are working on now. And just a reminder to everybody in the Gory Hole, all of their links, like their Twitter, their Facebook, their YouTube, it's all in the description.
they're Kofi.
Yes, it's all in the description. So tell us what you're working on now. And guys, remember you can find them in the description below.
okay. Okay, I'll kick it off. All right, so because I'm part of a team of almost Sideways, the actual other guys just recorded a review. They did a deep dive of Dazed and Confused, celebrating the 30th anniversary. So they go into the nitty gritty. They talk about the biggest douchebag of the movie, the best performance, all that fun stuff there. So they're talking about that movie.
Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
though, he's the biggest.
Yeah, he is the biggest douchebag. Probably. I'll edit that later, I think. But what I'm currently working on my, because I'm Adam Daly, my daily notes of films is that I'm working on the anniversary 1998. I'm talking about 2 films, Small Soldiers, which
Very
is
cool.
there's that one, and then I'm also talked about an underrated first time watch of Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage from.
Ooh, good one.
So that's what I'm working on coming out this next week on our channel. So and then eventually I have some other ideas coming up. I don't want to spoil too many of my anniversaries, but yeah, those are Small Soldiers and Snake Eyes. That's what's coming out for me.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Check out the Almost Sideways podcast on YouTube in the description below. Really fun show.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not.
As Gory has said a few times, I do art. I'm primarily post on Instagram. I do also have, as I said, a Ko-fi or coffee. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'm going to call it Ko-fi. You guys can just accept that. Which is, it's kind of like Patreon for artists. You can go there and you can tip me, or you can even order a commission. I have all the commission tiers set up. Be it sketch, line art, or color, they're all priced. Extras are priced. So if you are interested in getting commissioned, that's the best place to get it. Check out my art on Instagram. Make sure you like it, because that's how I'm going to draw it.
Yeah. He did the Gory Hole logo in my merch store.
Yeah, I've seen your art before. This is my first time meeting you.
Have you just seen the logo, or have you just seen the logo? Or
I think I showed you the one he did of Gray.
Yeah, you showed me some.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one's signed and on my wall. It's a prized possession of mine, and
I've seen your shirt now.
Yeah,
JoJo. That's on there too. So just check that out. I also have a podcast. We're kind of in a technical snag right now, but the first episode is out. Hopefully, we'll have more out by the end of next week, if not soon after. It's about Invader Zim. We talk about cartoons, particular episodes. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
Not yet, but I love Invader Zim, so I will be listening to it.
So yeah, that should be linked there too. And that's about all I'm working on. I am working on getting YouTube videos out right now. I'm working on scripting. My big intro video that I'm going to do is a retrospective of Total Drama Island.
Nice.
And
so cool.
You don't know what that is, you should still watch it anyways. It's a show that fascinates me to no end.
It's really fun. It's really fun. What are you working on, Danny?
Well, we're gonna do a review tomorrow. Do you want to watch Children of the Corn remake tonight?
You know it.
All right, we're gonna review Children of the Corn tomorrow
on Horror Addicts,
the newest one, and then we might do a game night afterwards. No
yeah, we're starting to do game nights over on Horror Addicts. It's at Horror Addicts TV. Mondays over on Horror Addicts stream, and sometimes a game night.
Yeah, stream always at 7, and then maybe something afterwards. Maybe an extra stream or an extra review, or I think we're gonna maybe do game nights for this part of it.
And for my update, starting next week. So if you watch this show regularly, and you're like, oh, the Gory B Movie show is at 7:30. Next week we're gonna be doing Evil Dead Rise at 7. Also, on May 4th, we've got Bloody Book Club. We're going to be talking about Clown in a Cornfield, which was so good. It's the best book we've read so far. Those events are already on the channel, so you can go ahead and mark notify me and hope to see you there.
Yeah. Mayanne, I'm glad you're excited for game night.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was so much. Guys, if you want to join us, that's so much. Mayanne killed it, dude. She slayed. It's so fun because you can play it on your phones from your location. So you get to actually play with us. You're not just watching us play a game, which I think is not as nearly as much fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. You're both incredible guests, incredibly informative, talented, amazing guys.
And groovy.
And groovy. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you will join us again sometime. And to everyone in the chat that's been providing just great comments, great questions, I hope to see you guys next week. And until we meet again, blessed be.